Chapter 855. However, at this moment, the white-haired old woman behind her suddenly reached out and stopped Xiao Mei. She said in a low voice, "Miss, let's forget about it. There's no need to waste money on a useless pill. Also, those people are not simple. If we fight, I don't have the confidence to win. We have a mission this time. Miss, don't be impulsive." Hearing this, Xiao Mei snorted coldly. She was obviously unwilling, but she did not continue to raise the price. Instead, she looked at Dongfang Phoenix and the others coldly. She decided that if she had the chance, she would ruin the other party's face. Seeing that the other party did not bid, Dongfang Phoenix snorted, "What daughter of the mayor? She's just a woman. If I see her, I'll teach her a lesson." Hearing this, Lin Xian broke out in cold sweat. This girl's temper was really hot. "Do you know the specific effects of that pill?" he asked. "No." Dongfang Phoenix shook her head. "I just don't like the other party. As for that pill, I don't care about it. It's yours." F***CK. Lin Xian rolled his eyes. Women were really scary creatures. Their thoughts could not be judged by common sense. However, this was not bad. At least he did not have to spend a single cent to get the pill. If that's the case, then thank you. Lin Xian smiled at Dongfang Phoenix. "All right, don't be impulsive. After all, we're here for a mission. It's better to keep a low profile," Bingling said. Lin Xian and the others nodded in agreement. After this, a few more pills were auctioned. However, Lin Xian and the others did not bid this time. Lin Xian looked around and frowned. He realized that the people from the Iron Sword clan and the Huangfu clan did not bid from the beginning to the end. It was as if they were waiting for something. Lin Xian was curious. He did not know what could attract so much attention from the two major forces. As time passed, the atmosphere in the hall was unusually lively. Many people obtained pills that they were satisfied with. At this time, Old Man Gong's son took out another item. It was a very simple and unadorned square box. It was bronze in color and carved with hollow patterns. However, when the ancient bronze box appeared, the people from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu clan became excited. Everyone's eyes sparkled as they stared ahead. Even Xiao Mei, who had always been slutty, retracted her charm and became serious. The white-haired old woman behind her suddenly opened her eyes. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked ahead, only to see the ancient bronze box slowly open. There was a completely blue pill inside. The pill was the size of a walnut. It was completely round and emitted a faint light. At this moment, the azure pill emitted a rich pill fragrance. The fragrance intertwined in the air, forming a strange pattern. It was like a blue water dragon. The blue water dragon circled around and let out a low roar that quickly spread in all directions. What followed was a terrifying pressure. This aura? What terrifying pressure! Just what kind of pill could have such power? Countless people's expressions changed. They felt as if the blood in their bodies had frozen. It was an extremely uncomfortable feeling. One should know that most of the people present were honorables and were very powerful. However, they could still feel the terrifying pressure. One could only imagine how terrifying the blue pill was. At this moment, countless people looked at the pill in front of them and swallowed their saliva. This pill? Dongfang Phoenix also looked over in surprise. She finally found something that shocked her. "This aura is too powerful." Bing Ling looked ahead and frowned. "I'm afraid it's something left behind by a king." A king. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Even Lin Xian's pupils shrank. One should know that a king was the most powerful existence in the mainland. How could something left behind by a king be ordinary? However, no one could understand why a king's item would appear here. Old Man Gong's son chuckled when he saw everyone's puzzled and passionate gazes. "Everyone, this blue pill was found in the depths of the Blackwater River. According to our deduction, this pill was most likely left behind by an alchemy grandmaster who had reached the king realm." A king-level alchemy grandmaster? Could it be the Niwa of Gojoseon? Instantly, all the martial artists in the hall became excited. Countless eyes looked ahead with passion. They could not help but be excited. In the great battle of the Blackwater River 1,000 years ago, many powerhouses had fallen. It was said that a king-level alchemy grandmaster had also fallen. The Niwa of Gojoseon was extremely powerful in Bhutan. His attainments in alchemy were superb. However, after he fell, no one found his body, nor did anyone find anything related to his inheritance. Many people even thought that the fall of the Niwa of Gojoseon was just a legend. However, now, a pill that was suspected to be refined by the Niwa of Gojoseon had appeared. This was enough to drive anyone crazy. I'm sure everyone knows that strange scenes have been happening around the Blackwater River recently. Everyone here is a treasure hunter. I don't need to tell you that this is the sign of a rare treasure. Now, the water dragon pill has appeared. I'm afraid things are not that simple. According to our deduction, this rare treasure is most likely left behind by the Niwa of Gojoseon. Old man Gongsuen's words silenced the entire hall. However, after a while, everyone became even more excited. Even the people from the three forces were breathing heavily. Their eyes were burning. Although they did not know if Old Man Gongsun was telling the truth, they did know about the strange scenes that often appeared around the Blackwater River. Moreover, some people noticed that the scale and frequency of the strange scenes this time were far greater than before. This was enough to show that the rare treasure that appeared this time was not ordinary. Now that the water dragon pill had appeared, it meant that it was most likely left behind by the Niwa of Gojoseon. Thinking of this, everyone's breathing became more rapid. A rare treasure left behind by a king-level alchemy grandmaster was completely different from an ordinary treasure. If this was true, it would probably cause an uproar in the entire Blackwater River area. Not only were the three forces shocked, but Lin Xian and the others were also extremely shocked. Yang Lin's eyes widened as he scratched his head. Wasn't it said that it was a treasure left behind by an 8th-level venerable? How did it become a king-level treasure? Bing Ling also frowned. It seems that there is a discrepancy in the mission information this time. If it's just a treasure left behind by an 8th-level venerable, we can still complete it smoothly. However, if it really is a king-level treasure, I'm afraid this mission will become extremely difficult. At that time, all the forces in the Blackwater River area would come to snatch it. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Although they were all talented martial artists with powerful strength, there were only 5 of them. The local forces had countless martial artists. If they really fought, they might not be a match for them. Of course, if Lin Xian and the others really wanted to kill them, the other party would not have it easy. After all, they were all geniuses with heaven-defying means. Chapter 856. But that might not be the case. This information might be fabricated by the Elixir Pavilion in order to raise the price, Yi Yin said. After all, the information hasn't been confirmed yet, so we can't panic. Yes, let's wait and see. Let's not act rashly. Bing Ling's expression was also serious. Lin Xian's group of 5 were talking in low voices, while the others in the hall were in a frenzy. Countless people looked forward with fiery eyes, staring at the water dragon pill in the bronze box. Although the information hadn't been confirmed yet, if the rare treasure was really left behind by the Niwa of Gojoseon, then the water dragon pill was a peerless pill, and it might be related to the rare treasure. One had to know that once one reached the king level, their methods would be unfathomable. The pills they refined would not only have the effects of ordinary pills, but they might also have other mysterious functions. Thinking of this, countless people's breathing became more rapid, and their eyes were filled with greed. If they could get the water dragon pill, their chances of getting a rare treasure would be greatly increased. Once they got a rare treasure, they would soar into the sky and rise up. A rare treasure from a rare treasure was enough to make them soar. If they were lucky, they might even become another rare treasure. Seeing the fiery emotions, Old Man Gong Sun laughed and said, "The water dragon pill is definitely related to the rare treasure, but we don't know the specific relationship between them. However, if you really want to search for the rare treasure, don't miss out on this heaven-defying opportunity." That's all for the information. The auction for the water dragon pill will start now. The starting price is 30 million spiritual stones. It was just a pill, and they didn't even know what it did, but it was sold for 30 million spiritual stones, which was 10 times the price of the previous pills. It was truly shocking. However, Old Man Gong Sun had absolute confidence. He knew that this pill would definitely be sold for an even higher price. After all, a pill refined by a rare treasure was definitely not an ordinary one, and it was related to a rare treasure, which was extremely important. Therefore, the price of this pill would be sky high. He was very confident about this. 35 million. As soon as old man Gong Sun's voice fell, Xiao Mei's voice quickly sounded. As the daughter of the Black Water City Lord, she had to get this pill. 40 million. Although Xiao Mei was the daughter of the Black Water City's Castellan and represented the power of Black Water City, not everyone was on the same page as Black Water City. At the very least, the other two major forces didn't buy their words. The one who bid was the old man from the Iron Sword sect. His voice was like sword chi, buzzing in the air. Damn it! How dare you compete with our Blackwater City? Xiao Mei was so angry that she stomped her feet. She glared at the other party, but was ignored. Others might be afraid of Blackwater City, but Iron Sword faction was not. They were also determined to obtain the Water Dragon Pill. 45 million. Someone else made a bid. This time, it was the middle-aged man from the Huangfu family who was sitting at the front. He bid in a low voice, his voice carrying a hint of arrogance. The price suddenly increased by 15 million, causing the surrounding martial artists to suck in a breath of cold air. Disappointment appeared in their eyes. They knew that with the three major forces intervening, they had no chance of competing at all. It's only 45 million. I'll pay 5. Dongfang Feng Wang was about to bid, but Lin Xin reacted quickly and covered her cherry lips. Boo-hoo, what are you doing? Dongfang Feng Wang was furious. Her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Lin Xin fiercely. That item is very dangerous. I'm afraid it's not much less tempting than the Lone Star Sword. If we bid for it, we will definitely be targeted by countless people, Lin Xin said in a low voice. Hearing this, the crowd fell silent. Lin Xin was right. Countless people were eyeing the Water Dragon Pill, especially the three major forces. They were all determined to get it. If they bid for the Water Dragon Pill, they might not even be able to leave Blackwater City. Lin Xin knew this very well. When he first obtained the Lone Star Sword, he went through an extremely fierce battle. Moreover, if it wasn't for his breakthrough in the Blood Sword inheritance, he wouldn't have been able to escape so easily. This time, there were even more experts in Blackwater City. There was even a 4th-level Honorable Realm expert like the Blackwater City Master who was eyeing it covetously. If they really fought, they would be at a disadvantage. Junior brother Lin is right. We should just wait and see, Bingling said slowly. Woo-woo, I know. You bastard. Take your hand away. Dongfang Feng Wang was so angry that she stomped her feet. If you don't bid, what should we do? She stared at Lin Xin fiercely. Lin Xin retracted his hand and said in a low voice, Now we can only wait and see if the king's treasure really appears. If it's not, then it's fine. But if it's true, then we can only secretly look for an opportunity. Although the treasure is good, our lives are more important. Hearing this, the crowd nodded. Bing Ling also looked at Lin Xin a few more times. She could see that although Lin Xin was young and was a freshman, he was very steady in doing things. It was very rare. Yi Yin and Yang Lin were also surprised. They didn't expect Lin Xin to be so experienced in doing things in addition to his heaven-defying combat strength. You know so much. Dongfang Feng Huang snorted angrily. She kept grinding her teeth and stared at Lin Xin fiercely. Although she was angry, she had to admit that Lin Xian's analysis was very reasonable. Without the pressure of competition, Lin Xian and the other four completely relaxed. They looked forward with an expression of watching a show. Now, they just needed to be good spectators. Just as they were discussing countermeasures, the price in the hall had risen to 60 million. This price was absolutely terrifying. It could probably buy countless rare elixirs. However, this price was still not enough to buy the Water Dragon Pill. 70 million. At this time, a cold voice sounded again. The sudden increase of 10 million caused the entire hall to cry out in surprise. The one who bid was the elder from the Iron Sword sect. His eyes were gloomy and his voice was cold. Everyone was shocked. As expected of a big force, he raised the price by 10 million. He was indeed rich and overbearing. However, Xiao Mei was very angry. The pair of jade rabbits in front of her chest kept shaking as if they were about to jump out. She also said gloomily, Elder Sue, I really like this elixir. How about you give it to me? Haha. The elder from the Iron Sword sect called Elder Sue laughed. Miss Xiao must be joking. What doesn't Blackwater City have? You want to fight with an old man like me for this elixir? I think Miss Xiao should give it to an old man like me. Humph. I want this water dragon pill. Xiaomei snorted. I want this elixir. 80 million. Chapter 857. 80 million. Xiaomei said coldly. Her words carried an aura that said she was determined to win. Hearing this, Elder Sue from the Iron Sword sect's face darkened. It seemed that the other party was going to fight to the death with him. 130 million. A confident voice rang out. This time, it was the middle-aged man from the Huangfu clan. Since the two of you are fighting so fiercely, why don't you add me in? The Huangfu clan would not give up on the water dragon pill either. The three forces competed with each other and kept raising the price. Soon, it reached 500 million. This price made all the warriors in the hall feel helpless. Many of them sucked in a breath of cold air. They might not be able to earn so many spiritual stones in their lifetime. But now, the three great clans had bid 500 million for a pill whose authenticity was unknown. It was truly shocking. Damn it, those two old bastards. Xiaomei gritted her teeth in anger. Her beautiful face was ferocious. In the Blackwater City, no one had ever dared to compete with her. But now, the two forces were not only competing with her, but they also looked like they would not give up until they got it. This made her go crazy. However, Xiaomei had no choice. The other party's forces were not weaker than hers. Even if she threatened them, it was useless. She could only continue bidding. Moreover, this pill was something that the Blackwater City had to get. Before she left, her father had told her that no matter the price, she had to get the water dragon pill. At this moment, Elder Sue from the Iron Sword sect started laughing. 600 million. This is the highest price that the Iron Sword sect can offer. If the two of you can surpass this price, the Iron Sword sect will not compete anymore. 600 million. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, the price increased by another 100 million. Hearing this, the middle-aged man from the Huangfu clan's eyes flickered. Xiaomei suddenly stood up. Her delicate and seductive face looked ferocious. She sucked in a deep breath and said coldly, 700 million. In the hall, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Their eyes were filled with shock. The price increased by another 100 million. This meant that the water dragon pill had become a sky-high price. F***CK. This price is comparable to a half-Earth level treasure. Yang Lin's eyes widened as he swallowed his saliva. He's really rich. Lin Xian also sighed. One had to know that he had spent all of his wealth to buy the Lone Star sword. But now, in order to compete for a pill of unknown use, the three great forces had actually offered a price equivalent to a half-Earth step treasure. It was indeed amazing. The price of 700 million reverberated throughout the hall, causing the originally lively scene to become somewhat quiet. Even Elder Sue, who had been all smiles earlier, had shut his mouth at this moment. His expression was somewhat ugly. He had previously said that 600 million was the highest price that the Iron Sword sect could offer. Now that the other party had offered 700 million without any hesitation, they were unable to bid any further. Moreover, this was the trump card of Blackwater City. The other party must have endless financial support. If they continued to compete like this, there would be no result. Therefore, Elder Sue was prepared to give up. Similarly, the middle-aged man from the Huangfu clan didn't raise the price either. On the crystal platform, Old Man Gongsun was overjoyed to see this. This water dragon pill was indeed dug out from the depths of the Blackwater River. However, they weren't too clear about its specific use. What they had said before was just speculation. However, the three great clans were still fighting over it. The price of 700 million had long exceeded his expectations. He couldn't wait to finalize the auction and sell the pill. Seeing that no one else was willing to bid, Old Man Gongsun asked 3 more times before finalizing the auction. The final winner was Xiaomei from Blackwater City. Blackwater City is indeed generous, spending 700 million to buy a pill of unknown use. This old man is truly impressed. I hope this treasure is real. If it's just an ordinary treasure, you'll suffer a great loss. Ha ha ha. Old Monster Su's words were filled with sarcasm as he spoke to Xiao Mei. After that, he left with the people from the Iron Sword sect. The middle-aged man from the Huangfu clan snorted coldly and left with his clan members. Xiao Mei looked at the backs of the two great forces as the corner of her mouth curled into a devilish smile. Two old things, how dare you compete with me? You're courting death. Sooner or later, you'll be trampled under the feet of my Black Dragon City. Her expression was filled with boundless arrogance, as if her Blackwater City had already obtained the king's treasure. The auction is almost over. Let's go. Bing Ling turned around and said to Lin Xian and the rest. Hearing this, Lin Xian and the rest nodded and walked out. Seeing Lin Xian and the rest leave, Xiao Mei once again revealed a hint of seductiveness. It's been a long time since I've tasted such a strong little fresh meat. I wonder how it tastes? She stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. She even let out an extremely seductive moan. Grandma Silver, help me check the identities of these people, especially those three young men. With such supreme young qi, I can't let them escape. The white-haired old woman nodded slightly with the help of her walking stick. After that, her body swayed and turned into a wisp of green smoke, disappearing from the spot. Xiao Mei chuckled lightly and swayed her hips as she walked in another direction. That direction was where the city lord's mansion was located. Not long after, the originally bustling and crowded hall became empty again. All the cultivators had left. The news of the water dragon pill and the king's treasure spread like the wind in Blackwater City. Countless cultivators were shocked and went crazy. The king's treasure was a super treasure that had never appeared before. Everyone's heart trembled and their expressions went crazy. It couldn't be helped. These four words were too tempting. Kings were the most powerful existences known to the continent at present. The treasure they left behind was absolutely heaven-defying. Whoever obtained it would have the opportunity to break through to the king's realm. This temptation was too fatal because entering the king's realm was something that every cultivator dreamed of. After all, the king was the strongest existence on the continent. They were the true overlords that ruled the heavens and earth. If nothing unexpected happened, a king could easily live up to 3,000 years old. No matter if it was strength or lifespan, they far surpassed a venerable. Therefore, once the news of the king's treasure spread, the entire Blackwater City fell into a frenzy. Countless forces began to secretly take action. Compared to the madness in Blackwater City, Lin Xian and the others were much quieter. In a side room, Lin Xian sat cross-legged. In his hand, he held the crimson-red pill that he obtained during the auction and carefully observed it. This pill was completely crimson-red and had pill markings engraved on it. It looked dim and lusterless. After carefully studying it for a long time, he found that this pill could indeed increase one's qi and blood. Moreover, the effect was quite good. However, the elixir patterns on the surface of the elixir made him a little surprised. Although they were dim and lusterless, the pill markings still revealed a faint trace of mysterious energy. This energy was very weak. If one's soul power wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't be able to sense it. Chapter 858. Lin Xian had already reached the level of a level 5 alchemist. If he gave it his all, he could even create level 6 pills. However, he was still shocked by the markings in front of him. He couldn't figure it out. The Crimson Dragon also ran out and stared at the pill. Kid, I advise you not to use this pill for now. Wait until you repair the markings. At that time, the pill's effect will increase by hundreds of times. Repair the markings. Lin Xian squinted his eyes. He felt that this was a feasible method. However, this process might take a long time because the markings were too profound. He needed to repair them bit by bit. Looks like this is the only way. Lin Xian held the pill in his hand and slowly closed his eyes. Waves of strong soul energy rushed out and entered the crimson pill. Just like that, he started to repair the markings. At the same time, in the mayor's mansion of Blackwater City, in a majestic hall, Xiao Mei stood proudly. In front of her was a middle-aged man in a black robe. The middle-aged man had a square face and deep eyes. He wore a long black robe with 3 golden flood dragons that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. As he stood there, he exuded an unparalleled aura of power. This majestic middle-aged man was the mayor of Blackwater City, Shaoli. At the same time, he was also a level 4 honorable. His strength was unfathomable. At this moment, Shaoli was holding the ancient bronze box in his hand. In the next moment, he opened the ancient bronze box, revealing the azure pill inside. That's right. This water dragon pill was refined by King Pillfeather. Shaoli's eyes sparkled as he looked at the azure pill. Hearing this, Xiaomei let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that the 700 million spiritual stones were not wasted. So, the treasure that appeared this time is also a king's treasure? Xiaomei's voice trembled. Should be. Shaoli picked up the water dragon pill and placed it on his palm. He smiled faintly. With this water dragon pill, King Pillfeather's treasure will definitely be ours. My hiding here for nearly 100 years was not in vain. Finally, the king's treasure is here. If I can successfully complete this mission, my position in the palace will definitely be greatly improved. Shaoli's face was filled with joy. What will the palace master reward us this time? Xiaomei was also extremely excited. Don't worry, Mei-er. Do you still need to doubt the palace lord's reward? If I can complete this mission, I will definitely break through to the 5th heaven of Venerable Realm. When the time comes, you can get whatever kind of yang qi you want. Really? That's great. Xiaomei was overjoyed, and the charm on her face became even stronger. But father, it's not just us. The people from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu family are here as well. Once they get the news, they will definitely take action, Xiaomei said worriedly. Iron Sword sect, Huangfu clan? Humph. If it wasn't for the sake of the plan and the fact that we can't reveal our identities, with the power of the Palace of Gods of War, we would be able to kill them instantly. Father, why isn't the Palace of War taking action? If they make a move, wouldn't the king's treasure be easily obtained? It's not as simple as you think, Shaoli said in a deep voice. I'm afraid the Palace of Gods of War has already been sealed. There might be a terrifying battle happening there. As long as Palace Master Duan wins, we will be the heroes of the Palace of Gods of War. When Palace Master Duan dominates the world, we will also be able to dominate a region. Hearing this, Xiaomei nodded, her eyes filled with joy. All right, a few powerful young men came to Blackwater City today, but we don't know their identities. I sent Granny Silver to investigate and found out that these people are disciples of Senmu College. I'm afraid they are here to search for treasures. Senmu College? They are just a few small disciples. They can't do anything. Shaoli smiled disdainfully. But then, he asked, do they know about the water dragon pill and the king's treasure? Yes. Xiaomei nodded. Then we can't let them live. Although these disciples aren't a threat, if they spread the news back to Senmu College and attract some old monsters, things will be bad. Father, what do you mean? Kill them. We can't let those old monsters from Senmu College come. Okay. Father, 3 of the young men have yang qi that I like. I will take action now. Xiaomei licked her lips, looking impatient. Don't be in such a hurry. We can't do it in Blackwater City. There are too many people here. If news spreads and Senmu College finds out that we did it, things will be troublesome. Once they leave the city, take action immediately. Don't leave a single one alive. As for the yang qi you mentioned, you can do whatever you want with them, but you must kill them afterward. Xiao Li's voice was cold, and a murderous look appeared in his eyes. Don't worry, I know what to do. Xiao Mei's eyes wandered, and her charm became even stronger. I will suck them dry one by one. The yang qi of 3 venerables will definitely allow my cultivation to break through again. Xiao Mei's voice echoed in the hall. The next day, just as the sun rose, Lin Xian and the others left Blackwater City and headed for the Blackwater River. Blackwater City was a city in the Blackwater River basin, and it was still quite a distance away from the real Blackwater River. They didn't waste any time and had to set off quickly. However, what made them helpless was that the news of the king's treasure seemed to have spread. Countless martial artists headed for the Blackwater River like locusts. In the sky, martial artists flew past from time to time. Their powerful auras were like meteors, streaking across the sky. Some forces even formed small teams to search for treasures and headed for the Blackwater River. Let's speed up too. We have to get to the Blackwater River as soon as possible. Otherwise, there won't be anything left of us when we arrive, Bing Ling said in a low voice. Lin Xian and the other four sped up and rushed into the sky like streaks of light. However, not long after they left, a cold laugh suddenly came from the void. Several figures quickly chased after them like ghosts. Lin Xian and the others were powerful. Almost all of them had the strength of a third sky venerable. Therefore, their speed was extremely fast, far surpassing that of most martial artists. However, even so, they didn't reach the Blackwater River after a day of running. At night, darkness fell. Lin Xian and the others had no choice but to stop and rest. Although they didn't reach the Blackwater River, they weren't far from it. Powerful demonic beasts often appeared in this area. It was easy to lose one's life when traveling at night. Therefore, for safety's sake, Bing Ling decided to rest for the time being and set off after daybreak. A bonfire rose in the forest. It bloomed with dancing flames and lit up the surroundings. Lin Xian and the other four sat cross-legged around the bonfire. Yang Lin took out food from his storage ring and started eating. Although at their level, it wouldn't be a problem even if they didn't eat or drink for a long time. The temptation of delicious food wasn't something that anyone could resist. Other than the bonfire near Lin Xian and the other four, the other places were dark. There were all sorts of roars coming from time to time. Chapter 859. Lin Xian knew that there were various demonic beasts lurking in the dark forest. There were even some powerful demon generals among them. If one were to sense it carefully, they would realize that there were traces of blood qi brewing in the air of this area. Through Bing Ling's explanation, Lin Xian realized that the blood qi was left behind from the extremely tragic battle thousands of years ago. Although thousands of years had passed, the blood and corpses of those powerhouses had not disappeared. Instead, they were buried deep under the ground. That was why the forest was shrouded in a faint blood qi. The bonfire flickered, and the weak flames became fireflies in the dark night, attracting the attention of countless martial artists. Many people rushed over. When they saw the beautiful faces of Murong Qingqing and Dongfang Fengwang, as well as their proud figures, many people's eyes turned red, and evil flames rose in their bodies. In their opinion, how powerful could these young men be? If they wanted to capture them, wouldn't it be a piece of cake? As long as they caught them, the two beauties would be at their mercy. That was why many martial artists could not help but make a move. However, after a few screams, no one dared to make a move. In fact, they did not even dare to stay. This was because they had seen with their own eyes that a second-level honorable martial artist was split in half by the beautiful young lady. Her strength was too terrifying. Only a third-level honorable martial artist could kill a second-level honorable martial artist with a single strike. The young men in front of them actually had the strength of a third-level honorable martial artist. This was too shocking. Retreat. Countless martial artists' expressions changed, and they all fled, not daring to stay any longer. This time, the area finally quieted down. All right, it's getting late. Everyone, get some rest. Yang Lin will be on guard tonight, Bing Ling said. Soon, Lin Xian and the others sat down cross-legged and closed their eyes, entering a state of cultivation. Yang Lin continued to lower his head, drinking and eating. However, this time, countless rays of light bloomed from his body and quickly scattered in all directions, forming a huge shadow of a golden bell that enveloped everyone. In the dark forest, it was better to be careful. With the protection of a golden seed, everyone's safety would be increased significantly. In the latter half of the night, the entire forest quieted down. At that time, the roaring beasts seemed to be tired and returned to their nests to rest. Only gusts of chilly wind blew in all directions, rustling the branches of the trees. At this moment, several cold gazes were fixed on Lin Xian and the others from the unseen darkness. Like ghosts in the dark, these people floated in the forest. It was very strange. The void rippled, and an alluring figure walked out. That was a dazzling woman. Her slender thighs and snow-white chest were all exposed, making her look incomparably flirtatious. Her delicate face was filled with boundless charm. Her eyes seemed to be able to draw out a man's most primitive desires. This woman was naturally Xiao Mei. She looked at the 5 figures in front of her and revealed a charming smile. Silver Granny, how are the preparations going? Everything is ready. We can make a move at any time. An old woman with a head full of white hair said in a low voice. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and do it. Remember, I want him alive. The seductive look in Xiao Mei's eyes intensified. This time, I want to suck them dry. Granny Silver nodded slightly, then waved her walking stick and shouted, Do it! Instantly, countless black figures dashed out from behind her like ghosts. The void rippled without any sound. It was extremely strange. The void rippled, and countless crows attacked Lin Xian and the others. Boom! A low sound rang out as the crows collided with the golden bell, causing it to vibrate violently. In the next moment, Yang Lin suddenly raised his head. His body emitted light as he punched out. The air in front of him was sucked dry, and countless crows were blown apart. A vacuum appeared. At the same time, he let out a long whistle and quickly woke up Lin Xian and the others. There's a situation. When Lin Xian opened his eyes and saw the crows covering the sky, his face turned serious. These are blood crows. They live by eating the flesh and blood of martial artists. Although their individual attacks are not very strong, when they gather together, they are a terrifying force. Bing Ling said in a low voice, In the past, a 3rd-level honorable died in the hands of these blood crows. Hearing this, Lin Xian and the others were shocked. They looked at the black figures around them with serious expressions. At the same time, Yang Lin reminded them, Everyone, be careful. The golden bell is about to break. Indeed, not long after, the golden bell broke into pieces. The blood crows were like demons as they rushed toward Lin Xian and the others. You're courting death. Lin Xian shouted coldly. He waved his arm and a sword chi slashed forward. Poof! Groups of blood crows fell and turned into a bloody mist. However, the blood was devoured by the surrounding blood crows. At the same time, their eyes shone with a bloody light as they became even crazier. Shrill cries rang out in the night sky. They were like demonic sounds that were ear-piercing and made one's scalp tingle. Oh no, these beasts are crazy. Everyone, be careful. Bing Ling shouted and quickly attacked. Let me. Eastern Phoenix shouted and waved her hand. Streaks of fiery red aura flowed out, and a terrifying heat wave swept out in all directions. Then, the shadow of a divine bird flew out quickly. Like a phoenix, it was reborn from the fire and instantly lit up half of the sky. The flaming divine bird spread its wings and circled in the sky with a sea of fire. In the sky, countless blood crows were surrounded by flames and let out miserable cries. Below, Eastern Phoenix formed a seal with her palm and a fire lotus appeared on her fingertips. It quickly grew and enveloped the surroundings. Boom! Like a volcanic eruption, it quickly swept through the world. Any blood crows that were touched by it were instantly turned into ashes. Not even a mist was left. In an instant, the surroundings became empty. The crazy blood crows all disappeared and were burned to ashes. Hee, as expected of the disciples of Senmu College. Even the blood crows can't do anything to you. A low and hoarse voice sounded and floated around. It was very ethereal, and no one could tell where it came from. In the distance, countless black figures floated like ghosts, creating a tense atmosphere. Who is it? Come out and die. Yang Lin roared. His voice was like thunder, shattering the forest in front of him. Rows of trees fell down, and a vacuum appeared. A figure quickly flew into the distance like a ghost. Stay here. Yang Lin waved his hand. A huge palm of light rushed out like a huge mountain and blew up the void. The two of them were very fast and disappeared in an instant. Soon, the sound of fierce fighting could be heard in the distance. Terrifying spiritual energy fluctuations were like the sea of the abyss, vast and mighty. What a terrifying aura. Who is it? Eastern Phoenix and the others' faces darkened. Wait here. Don't move. I'll be right back. Bing Ling said. Her figure flickered, and like a blue frost, she ran towards the sound of fighting. It was too strange. The other party knew their identity and dared to attack. They obviously came prepared. She had to find young Lin. However, another black figure appeared and floated in the air. In the next moment, the black figure's aura exploded, and a powerful pressure shrouded the surroundings. Third level honorable. Bing Ling's pupils shrank, and her face was cold. She did not expect the person to be so powerful. Chapter 860. The void split open, and another third heaven venerable flew towards Lin Xian and the others. Yi Yin sneered. Like a purple phantom, he dashed out and stopped the person. In an instant, a battle broke out. Bing Ling and the other two third heaven martial artists were all restrained. Only Lin Xian and Dongfang Fengwang were left. Their cultivation was only at the second heaven of venerable realm. It seemed that they had been ignored by the mysterious force. Looking at the sudden change, Lin Xian's face darkened. He looked around and became alert. Suddenly, he frowned and pulled Dongfang Fengwang away. Boom! In the next moment, the ground where he was standing cracked open. A yellow stone pillar that looked like a spear pierced through the void with a terrifying aura. It was too terrifying. If they had been a little slower, Lin Xian and Dongfang Fengwang would have been pierced. The piercer emitted a monstrous aura. A second heaven venerable could not withstand it at all. Even a third heaven venerable might not be able to withstand it. You dodged it? A low voice sounded with some surprise. As expected of a disciple of Sinmu College. Even a second heaven venerable has such sharp senses and reaction speed. Interesting. Next, I hope you won't disappoint me. As soon as the voice sounded, the ground trembled. Countless rays of light rose quickly, and the entire landscape within 100 miles changed drastically. This is? Lin Xian was shocked. He quickly rose into the air with Dongfang Fengwang following behind him. However, in the next moment, a terrifying force separated the two of them. He let out a low growl and quickly threw a punch forward. Boom! The yellow cage shook but did not break. What a tough wall. Lin Xian's eyes narrowed. He had used a lot of strength, and even a second-level venerable realm cultivator would not have been able to withstand his punch. However, the earthen yellow wall had not been able to withstand his attack, and it had been damaged in the slightest. This was beyond his expectations. He looked around and realized that he was surrounded by yellow walls and countless boulders. The entire space was sealed and carried a heavy force. Your strength is not bad. A light voice sounded, and then a black figure appeared. The other party was wearing a ghost mask, so no one could see his true appearance. They could only recognize that it was a man from his voice. Third level venerable. Lin Xian exclaimed when he felt the aura of the other party. Your senses are very sharp. That's right. I'm a third level venerable. In front of him, the mysterious man smiled and said, Originally, I didn't need to do anything to deal with someone like you. But your reaction speed surprised me, so I'll play with you. As for that little female companion of yours, you don't have to worry either. I think there should be 4 second-level venerables accompanying her. Damn it. Lin Xian's expression darkened. Based on the other party's words, the Eastern Phoenix was currently fighting with 4 second heaven venerables. Who on earth was this person, to actually dispatch so many experts to deal with them? All right, you don't have time to think about anything else, and don't try to guess our identities, because you'll never be able to guess. The mysterious man in front of him said in a light voice. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Seeing the other party's actions, Lin Xian was shocked, and he quickly used his movement technique to dodge. Sure enough, in the next moment, a yellow vortex appeared where he was. It was like a black hole, producing a huge suction force that crushed the void. Not bad. Your reaction is indeed fast. I didn't expect a second-level venerable to have such an exquisite movement technique. The mysterious man's eyes lit up. Obviously, he was very interested in Lin Xian's movement technique. He formed a seal with his palm, and a terrifying aura appeared in the void, turning into various attacks that quickly attacked Lin Xian. Lin Xian used his Earth Stage identity, leaving a series of afterimages in the void. It's useless. It's useless no matter how fast you are because this is my Earth world. In an instant, the clones that Lin Xian had conjured were pierced. The entire space was densely packed with sharp, poisonous thorns. It's useless. You can't escape in my space. The mysterious venerable in front of him said casually. He seemed to be very casual, as if he didn't care about Lin Xian at all. Poisonous dragon piercing. In the next moment, he put his palms together and quickly waved them in the void. Suddenly, countless sharp thorns filled the air. They were terrifying and mysterious, and there were strange runes on the surface. The runes flickered, and the sharp thorns were extremely fast, piercing towards Lin Xian in an instant. Poof! The surrounding void was pierced, and Lin Xian's figure was also pierced. I said, it's useless no matter how fast you are. In this space, I'm the ruler. The mysterious venerable chuckled again after piercing his opponent. Is that so? Looks like you're very confident in your strength. Suddenly, a cold voice came from behind the mysterious venerable. It was like a sword light, and it made his hair stand on end. What? His pupils shrank, and his heart beat wildly. There was a third person in his space, and he didn't know about it? How is this possible? Just as he was about to move, he stopped in an instant because he felt an extremely sharp aura pressing against his back. As long as he moved, he was afraid that the aura would immediately pierce into his heart. Although he was a third-level venerable, if his heart was pierced, he would definitely die. Therefore, he didn't dare to move at all. Who are you? How did you get in? The mysterious venerable had an ugly expression, and his voice was filled with shock. In the next moment, he exclaimed again because he saw that Lin Xian's body, who was originally pierced, began to disintegrate, turning into a pool of blood and disappearing into the void. Clone! The mysterious venerable was shocked. In the next moment, he understood everything. The person behind him was none other than Lin Xian's real body. It's good that you understand. Now, tell me, who sent you? Don't lie, or I'll kill you immediately. Lin Xian asked coldly. You'll never know, because the dead don't need to know anything. In the next moment, the mysterious venerable in front of him suddenly laughed evilly. Kid, don't think that you're the only one with a clone. Trap him. Before the voice disappeared, the figure in front of him suddenly trembled and instantly turned into a stone man. At the same time, a khaki-colored fist appeared behind him and blasted towards Lin Xian. The fist was as big as a millstone, and it carried a terrifying force that could shatter the void with a single strike. This change was too sudden. In an instant, the terrifying fist enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He didn't expect the other party to also have a mysterious clone technique. Looking at the incoming khaki-colored fist, he snorted coldly and punched out as well. Golden light surged, and a terrifying lightning fist broke through the void and blasted forward. This fist was too terrifying, and it lit up the entire space. The fist was covered with strange lightning runes, and it was incomparably mysterious and contained terrifying power. Boom! The two fists collided, and the entire space shook as if it would shatter at any time. What? A cry of surprise was heard. It was obviously from the mysterious venerable. Chapter 861. He was too shocked because he realized that his attack could not harm Lin Fan at all. Instead, Lin Fan's golden fist, which contained powerful lightning energy, shattered his stone clone. Who is this kid? Is he really just a second heaven honorable? The mysterious honorable martial artist was shocked. Originally, he thought that Lin Fan was only a second heaven honorable, so he did not take him seriously. However, after exchanging blows, he realized that Lin Fan was definitely not weaker than him. He could fight above his level. This guy was a genius. In an instant, the mysterious honorable martial artist understood, and his face turned ugly. Originally, he thought that he had found an easy prey and could play with him. However, he did not expect Lin Fan to be a genius. It seemed that this battle had become very troublesome. The mysterious honorable martial artist appeared again, and his eyes were terrifyingly gloomy. Kid, I admit that you're very powerful, but you have no chance of winning against me. If I hadn't received orders to capture you alive, you would be a corpse now. Corpse? Lin Xian sneered. I think you're daydreaming. Since you're so willing to dream, I'll send you to heaven. You're courting death. The mysterious honorable martial artist was furious. Although Lin Xian was a genius, he was also a third heaven honorable. He would definitely not allow a young man to challenge him. With a roar, the spiritual energy in his body exploded. In the next moment, countless rays of light appeared on his body, and his skin began to turn into stone. In the end, his entire body was covered by thick rocks, and he looked like a stone man. The mysterious honorable martial artist exuded a terrifying aura. He threw out a punch, and the terrifying fist enveloped the surroundings, shattering the void. It was extremely terrifying. This was a true third heaven honorable martial artist. He was extremely powerful, and now that he had attacked with his full strength, it was extremely terrifying. However, Lin Xian sneered, and the great dragon sword soul in his body suddenly exploded. He was powerful enough, and he was not afraid of the mysterious honorable martial artist. Under such circumstances, he had to break through quickly and meet up with the others. Therefore, he immediately used the great dragon sword soul and attacked with his full strength. A dazzling sword light lit up like a blazing sun, and it bloomed in the void. Then, it quickly slashed down. The light was too dazzling, and it lit up the entire void. At the same time, the aura that it carried was too terrifying. It was extremely sharp, as if it could destroy everything. A terrifying energy sound was heard, and in the next moment, the mysterious honorable martial artist flew backward. His arms were numb, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. How is this possible? He turned pale with fright, and his face was filled with shock. He simply could not believe that he was injured by a young man at the second sky of the venerable realm. One had to know that he was an Earth attribute martial artist. His defensive power was the strongest. Very few people in the same rank could injure him. You're courting death. The mysterious venerable master was enraged. He no longer cared about the order to capture Lin Xian alive. He circulated his spiritual energy and quickly released his martial soul, wanting to suppress Lin Xian. Lin Xian was also surprised. His sword strike just now was incomparably fierce, but his opponent had actually received it with only minor injuries. His opponent was indeed strong. If he wanted to kill the other party in a short period of time, he would have to use extraordinary means. Lin Xian snorted coldly when he saw his opponent unleash his martial soul. He reached out and grabbed the black package. Don't waste your energy. No matter how you struggle, you'll still die. The mysterious honorable being floated in the void, emitting a powerful aura. In his opinion, as long as he released his martial soul, he would definitely be able to kill Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. He ignored his opponent's words and quickly opened the black package. Then, he held the Lone Star Sword. Seeing Lin Xian holding the sword, the mysterious venerable master's eyelids twitched violently. He felt an inexplicable sense of uneasiness in his heart. He was extremely shocked. He could not understand how a second sky of the venerable realm could make him feel the aura of death. This brat must be eliminated. The mysterious venerable master felt a chill in his heart. He would not allow such a threat to remain in this world. Brat, die. He released his martial soul and released a terrifying palm strike. A trace of fear appeared in the mysterious venerable master's heart. Only by killing Lin Xian could he eliminate this fear. On the other side, Lin Xian pulled out the Lone Star Sword and slashed out. A terrifying sword chi flashed like a real dragon. It was extremely terrifying. What? The mysterious venerable master was horrified. He realized that this sword chi was too terrifying. It was not something he could resist. That's a half-Earth rank treasure. Finally, he recognized the Lone Star Sword in Lin Xian's hand. He did not expect that a second sky of the venerable realm would have such a heaven-defying item. The mysterious venerable master swallowed his saliva and felt his scalp go numb. In the next moment, he turned around and fled. He did not dare to fight anymore. His arrogance and dignity were all gone at this moment. He had no chance of winning against a half-Earth rank treasure. His body swayed. and the mysterious venerable master turned into a ray of light and fled into the distance. However, Lin Xian's sword chi was faster than him. It descended above his head in an instant and then quickly fell. No, open. The mysterious venerable master screamed and released his martial soul to resist with all his might. In the next moment, he was enveloped by the sword chi. Ah! The mysterious venerable master screamed. His eyes were filled with fear and regret. He could not resist the sword chi at all and was instantly split in half. Not only him, but the entire sealed earth space was also split open by the sword. Lin Xian's body swayed, and he came to the outside world. At this moment, the nearby void cracked, and the eastern phoenix also came out. In the distance, several ear-piercing sounds could be heard. Those figures were none other than Bing Ling and the others. At this moment, they had escaped from the battlefield and rushed back. "Are you guys okay?" Bing Ling asked. Everyone looked at Lin Xian and the eastern phoenix. "I'm fine." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. He wrapped up the lone star sword again and carried it on his back. Everyone looked at the third sky of the venerable realm that was split in half, and their eyelids twitched. Lin Xian was too terrifying. With a half-Earth rank treasure, he could kill an ordinary third sky of the venerable realm like cutting vegetables. "You're really a monster." Dongfang Fenghuang also lightly snorted. She had spent a lot of effort to escape from the sealed space. At this moment, her small face was covered in sweat, and there were many bloodstains on her body. On the other hand, Lin Xian looked calm, as if splitting open the sealed space was effortless. Seeing everyone's strange looks, Lin Xian touched his nose helplessly, then changed the topic. "Do you know who these people are? We just came to Blackwater City and did not come into contact with anyone. The only person we had a conflict with was probably that seductive woman. These people are most likely from the Blackwater City's City Lord Mansion," Bing Ling said. City Lord Mansion. Lin Xian and the others' faces darkened when they heard this. These people are really daring. They actually dared to attack us. Yang Lin snorted coldly. Lin Xian also said, "They seem to know that we are Sinmuf College's disciples, but they still dared to attack us. It seems that there is a reason we don't know." Bing Ling looked around and said cautiously, "Everyone, be careful. The battle here has probably alarmed other martial artists. It's not good to stay here. Let's leave quickly." Chapter 862. After which, the five of them set off once again. Not long after Lin Xian and the rest left, a group of people appeared where they were originally. One of them was the seductive Xiao Mei. However, her seductive face was now extremely ferocious. Damn it, how is this possible? They can actually kill a third heaven honorable. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Xiao Mei's face was extremely ugly. Behind him, the white-haired silver grandma also frowned, her eyes shining with a terrifying light. What a terrifying sword technique! Her heart trembled a little as she looked at the large hole that had been split open. "It seems that we have underestimated them." Silver Grandma shook her head. "The disciples of Senmu College are indeed very strong. No, we must capture them." Xiao Mei's face was pale, and her voice was cold. "I must send the news back and get my father to send more people. How dare they kill the people of Blackwater City? I will not let them go." Xiao Mei's cold voice echoed in the air. After a night of running, Lin Xian and the rest finally arrived at Blackwater River. In front of them, a black river roared like a black dragon. It was entrenched on the ground, and one could not see the end of it. The river water surged, occasionally emitting a cold aura. Even an honorable would feel a little uncomfortable. Legend had it that this river had buried countless experts and had absorbed the blood of kings. It was extremely terrifying. They originally thought that it was just a legend, but now it seemed that it was very likely to be true. Bing Ling's beautiful eyes moved as she looked at the black river in front of them. At this moment, they were not the only ones. Many martial artists had come near Blackwater River. Their eyes were burning with greed. Some of them were even impatient and did not want to stay. They directly rushed towards Blackwater River. The spiritual energy in their bodies surged, forming a defensive barrier around them as they rushed into Blackwater River. This action immediately angered the demonic beasts in the river. Countless demonic beasts roared in anger. Boom! 100-meter-long water python roared with all its might. Its terrifying tail was like a heavenly knife, cutting the river water and creating countless waves. Poof! Many martial artists did not dodge in time and were hit by the tail. Blood splattered everywhere. In an instant, all sorts of screams could be heard in Blackwater River. However, these screams could not stop the other martial artists. Countless figures dove into the river like sharp swords. "Let's go down too," Bingling said. Cold air circled around her body, forming an ice armor that wrapped around her petite figure. The others also used their own methods to form a defensive barrier against the impact of the river. Lin Xian smiled. Sword chi erupted from his body and quickly intertwined to form a ball of sword chi that enveloped his body. Then, the five of them quickly rushed to the Blackwater River. The river surged, creating waves that were tens of meters high. Roar! Suddenly, a deep roar was heard, accompanied by a terrifying demonic aura. As soon as Lin Xian and the others entered the water, they were targeted. A demonic beast covered in dark green scales glared fiercely at Lin Xian and the others. It opened its bloody maw, bringing with it a monstrous bloody aura. Its long fangs even had the remains of a few warriors' corpses. Clearly, this demonic beast had eaten more than one person. A 2-star fiend general dares to be impudent. Lin Xian coldly snorted and pointed a finger. Roar! Seeing that the humans had attacked, the water demon became even more furious. Its huge head shook and a blue light beam shot out from its mouth. The blue light surged and the murderous aura carried with it a terrifying aura. It rushed toward Lin Xian and the others. Lin Xian's sword chi gathered at the tip of his finger and formed a dragon that roared out. The finger radiance was extremely sharp. It hit the blue light beam hard and shattered it. Then, it quickly pierced the water demon's heart. Roar! The water demon let out an unwilling roar and fell down, creating countless ripples in the water. The surrounding river water was dyed black and red. "Let's go." Bingling turned around and prepared to leave. There's something." Yi Yan's eyes flashed. His eyes emitted a purple divine light that pierced through the void like 2 rays of light. In the next moment, he waved his hand and sent the huge water demon's corpse flying. Then, he grabbed at the soil below. Poof! The bottom of the water cracked open and a deep hole appeared. However, in the deep hole, there was a crystal-clear pearl that was the size of a fist. Rays of light flowed on the pearl, and it contained a shocking power. "Water spiritual pearl," Yi Yan exclaimed. Upon hearing this, Bing Ling turned around abruptly and looked ahead. Her eyes were filled with shock. Lin Xian and the others also looked over. Although they did not know the specific use of the water spiritual pearl, the power it contained was shocking. "Good stuff." Yi Yan smiled. Then, he turned into a purple radiance and rushed down. Gurgle, gurgle. However, just as he landed, the river water suddenly surged as if it was boiling. A silver sword radiance slashed toward him. "You're courting death." Yi Yan did not expect that someone would dare to attack him at this time. He shouted angrily and threw out a palm. A purple mist formed and floated forward. Boom! A deep sound was heard. The waves slapped in all directions and created a powerful force that pushed Yi Yan back. However, the silver sword radiance was also corroded by the purple mist and disappeared into the water. "Who is it? Come out!" Yi Yan shouted coldly. The purple radiance in his eyes shone brightly as he looked around. "Humph! Arrogant brat!" A sneer was heard. Then, the river water surged. Countless figures appeared and surrounded Lin Xian and the others. These people were surrounded by radiance and had weapons in their hands. They were murderous and had a bloody aura. It was obvious that they had killed many people. In front of them, there were 2 figures standing there like giant mountains. They were middle-aged men. One was bald and the other had a palm-sized scar on his face. Their auras were unusually strong. They must be the leaders of these people. "Who are you? What do you want?" Yi Yan asked coldly. "What do we want?" The bald man sneered. We have been eyeing this water spiritual pearl for many days. We were not careful, and it was almost taken away by you little brats. Little brats, if you know what's good for you, get out of here. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you." The scarred man smiled evilly. "Of course, those two beauties must stay. I have never seen such beautiful girls. One is ice and the other is fire. One is cold and the other is arrogant. They are the best in the world." Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists laughed. Countless eyes looked at Bing Ling and Dongfang Fenghuang unscrupulously. Humph. Bing Ling's face darkened. A murderous intent appeared in her eyes. Dongfang Fenghuang was even more direct. She threw a palm at the scarred man. Whoosh! When the fiery red palm appeared, the entire river started to boil. It was as if it was boiling and became scalding hot. "Nonsense! I will tear your mouth apart," Dongfang Fenghuang shouted and quickly threw out her palm. Chapter 863. Fire Attribute? Haha, this is the bottom of the river. How much power can your flames exert? A tall and skinny martial artist sneered, his eyes full of disdain. The next moment, he struck out with a punch. A grayish aura covered his fist, tearing the black water apart and colliding with the fiery red palm. Boom! With a buzzing sound, white mist rose from the surroundings. It was the evaporated water from the flames. The tall and skinny martial artist screamed as he held his arm and retreated. At the same time, his eyes were filled with horror. The attack just now was like hitting a volcano. The horrifying heat immediately burned his palm. Not only that, the red flames quickly climbed up his arm as if they were going to melt him. In shock, he did not dare to continue the fight and quickly retreated. Dongfang Fenghuang snorted as she pulled out the red whip from her waist and swung it forward. Buzz! The river water was whipped apart. The red whip was like a red dragon, swimming quickly and dragging the tall and skinny martial artist back in an instant. "You? What are you doing?" The tall and skinny martial artist was finally afraid. He was no longer as arrogant as before. "What am I doing? I'll let you have a taste of my flames." Dongfang Fenghuang's face was cold. The dirty words from these people had made her very angry, so she did not show any mercy. "Oh no, faction leader, save me." Seeing the red palm, the tall and skinny martial artist screamed in fear. "You're courting death. Put him down." The bald man was furious. Someone dared to hit his underling in front of him. Was he tired of living? With a shake of his hand, a long spear appeared in his hand, and he quickly stabbed it out. With a flash of light, the long spear seemed to come alive. It turned into a water python and rushed over quickly. "You want to fight?" Lin Xin's body swayed as he stood up. He stretched out his arm and shouted, "Dragon-catching hand." Boom! The golden light covered the sky as a horrifying aura shook the surroundings. A golden shadow surged out like a golden dragon, roaring. In an instant, the golden dragon entangled the long spear. The dragon's body coiled and formed a horrifying strangling force. The horrifying explosion of energy forced the bald man to step back. At the same time, Dongfang Fenghuang's palm fell and burned the martial artist to ashes. Seeing this scene, the surrounding martial artists were shocked and dumbstruck. Their leader had been knocked back by a second-layer martial highness? Was this a dream? The scarred man's pupils also shrank, and his expression was extremely solemn. A second-rank Venerable Realm Cultivator was actually able to force a third-rank Venerable Realm Cultivator back. This was a battle that surpassed one's cultivation level. Who is this kid? Who are these people? Scram or die. Lin Xin's cold voice shook the area. Hearing this, the bald man's expression became extremely ugly. The other party was simply too arrogant. "Brat, you're the first one who dares to be so insolent to our White Sharks gang," the scarred man said in a deep voice. "In this Blackwater River basin, even the three great forces will give us some face." "I'm not from the three great forces, so I don't need to give you any face," Lin Xin said coldly. "If you don't scram, don't blame me for being rude." As soon as he finished speaking, a sharp sword chi formed on his body and enveloped the surroundings. Not only were the members of the White Sharks gang shocked, But even Bing Ling and the others were shocked. They had never seen such a domineering side of Lin Xian. Now, it seemed that this handsome young man was not to be trifled with. "Brat, you're too arrogant." The scarred man's face darkened. "This time, the White Shark's gang has lost. Let's go." He waved his hand and immediately led countless martial artists away. "Boss, why don't we attack? Even if they're strong, we have more people. We can definitely take them down." The bald man said, "Forget it. The other party is strong, and we don't know their identity. If we attack recklessly, even if we win, we'll suffer heavy losses. Moreover, the king's treasure is about to appear. It's stupid to waste our strength now," the scarred man said in a deep voice. "So we're just going to let it go?" The bald man gritted his teeth. "Let it go? How is that possible?" The scarred man's eyes were gloomy and filled with murderous intent. "How dare they provoke our White Shark's gang? How can we let it go? When we have the chance, we'll definitely kill these brats." The scarred man's voice was cold. Obviously, it wasn't that he didn't want to attack, but that the timing wasn't right. Looking at the departing figures of the group, Bing Ling and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Although the other party's combat strength was not as good as theirs, they had the advantage in numbers. If they really attacked, it would be hard to say who would win. Now that they could scare the other party, it couldn't be better. The few of them looked at Lin Xian with strange expressions. This guy's aura was too strong. Dongfang Phoenix also exclaimed, "I didn't realize that you had such a cool side to you." This group of people bully the weak and fear the strong. If you don't act tough, you won't scare them away. Lin Xian shrugged. At this moment, Yi Yan's figure flashed, and he took the water spirit pearl. "Yi Yan, this water spirit pearl is very useful for my cultivation. Can I exchange it with something?" Bing Ling asked. She was an ice-based martial artist. It could be said that she was a mutation of the water element. The water spirit pearl contained a powerful water element energy that would be of great help to her. "Sure." Yi Yan nodded. The energy in the water spirit pearl was not very useful to him. It was best to exchange it with something else. Soon, the two of them completed the exchange. Bing Ling put the water spirit pearl into her storage ring, and a trace of joy appeared on her face. "Let's go to the depths of the Black Water River." The five of them moved like 5 nimble fish, shuttling through the water at high speed. The Black Water River was very mysterious. The underwater world was similar to the outside world. There were mountains and valleys under the ground and a group of green plants. It was like an underwater world. However, compared to the land, it was more dangerous here because you didn't know where a water monster would swim out from. Moreover, the Black River water was like ink, blurring one's vision. In general, the world under the Black Water River was much more dangerous than the land. They didn't encounter any trouble along the way. They walked very quickly and finally, they reached the depths of the Black Water River. Floating in the river, Lin Xian looked down. He saw that there were mountains below, and the terrain was strange. In the west, there was a huge crack, as if the bottom of the river had been cut open. Traces of thicker black water emerged from the crack. It was eerie and terrifying. It is said that the place where the Niwa of Gojoseon fell. Bing Ling looked at the terrifying big crack and said in a low voice, "No wonder." Lin Xian nodded. He did feel an unusual aura from the big crack. Yang Lin looked around and said with dissatisfaction, "There are so many people. Even if there is a treasure, we can't take it away secretly." Indeed, there were too many people around. The number of people was so spectacular that it seemed to surpass the number of water monsters at the bottom of the river. "There are so many people. We don't have to look for it. Why don't we wait for the treasure to appear?" Lin Xian and the others agreed. Indeed, even if they found it, they would be besieged. Rather than that, it was better to preserve their strength and wait for others to find it. Chapter 864. They found an open space and sat down cross-legged, waiting for the treasure to appear. Gradually, there were more and more martial artists in the surroundings. The originally oppressive river bottom world became lively. There were even some martial artists who met their enemies and directly started fighting, causing the scene to be extremely chaotic. Suddenly, the river trembled, and the black river water surged, making a rumbling sound. The warriors quickly stopped and retreated to the side. Lin Xian and the rest opened their eyes and looked into the distance. Although it was dark, Lin Xian's soul power was extremely strong, and he could clearly see the scene in the distance. He realized that it was not the beasts that caused the tremors, but the people. To be exact, it was two groups of people. On the left, a huge black shadow appeared, like a moving mountain, causing the ground to tremble, the river water to surge, and the underwater mountains to crack. "Killer whale!" someone exclaimed and took a deep breath. Lin Xian also squinted his eyes. It was indeed a killer whale, a powerful water demon, and its strength was at the level of a demon general. It was like a huge blue mountain with yellow stripes on it, like tiger stripes. It shone with a demonic light, and a strong demonic aura surged out, sweeping across the land. On the back of the killer whale, there were almost 100 figures. These people carried iron swords on their backs, and their sword auras were sharp. Iron Sword Clan. This powerful force was the Iron Sword Clan that Lin Xian had met before. The other side was probably the Huangfu clan. He turned his eyes and looked in the other direction. The Huangfu clan also came on a huge beast. It was a giant crab, and its body was red like glass. It waved its huge pincers and easily cracked the ground. On the back of the beast, there were 100 Huangfu clan members, and they formed a terrifying aura. The arrival of the two forces made the entire space fall into a short silence. They were too powerful. Lin Xian and the rest also looked serious. The number of people on the other side had doubled, and it was obvious that they were well prepared for the king's treasure. Bing Ling frowned slightly. Compared to the other side, they were at a disadvantage. However, this was normal. According to the information on the Academy's mission, this was just an ordinary Venerable One's treasure. The current team of Bing Ling and the others was more than enough. However, who would have thought that the Venerable One's treasure would turn into a king's treasure? This made their team, which was originally sure to win, feel somewhat awkward. We can only play it by ear now. Remember, staying alive is the most important thing. Lin Xian and the others nodded, indicating that they understood. At this moment, the ground began to tremble again, as if it was about to split open. With the previous two experiences, no one panicked this time. Instead, they uniformly looked into the distance. They knew that only those terrifying demon generals could cause such a commotion. As expected, another black silhouette appeared in front of him, carrying a terrifying demonic aura with it. Blackwater City. Yi Yan's eyes flickered with purple light as he looked ahead and said coldly. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and raised his head to look. He saw that the black shadow was a giant anaconda, ferocious and terrifying. On top of the python's head stood a figure that was incomparably seductive. On top of the giant anaconda stood countless martial artists. They wore black robes, and their auras were fierce. Seeing those people, the faces of Lin Xian and the others sank. They realized that the clothes and auras of those people were very similar to the mysterious group that attacked them in the night. Dongfang Fenghuang looked into the distance and coldly snorted. She was extremely disgusted by that seductive woman. Xiaomei naturally saw Lin Xian and the others, and the corner of her mouth instantly curled up into a devilish smile. Hee my young Qi, you can't run away. Xiaomei naturally saw Lin Xian and the others, but she didn't make a move. This was because the current situation wasn't suitable for settling personal grudges. The giant anaconda moved quickly like a peerless, ferocious beast and stopped at a nearby mountain range. The entire space became oppressive once again. Countless martial artists held their breaths, not daring to breathe too loudly. This was because the three-headed demon general platform was too powerful. The pressure it created enveloped the entire space. Lin Xian and the others also retracted their gazes and sat down cross-legged again, waiting quietly. As time passed, the entire bottom of the Black River became very quiet. Gradually, a strange aura spread out in the vicinity. Through his powerful soul power, Lin Xian acutely sensed that the strange aura was coming from the Great Rift Valley in the distance. Not only that, the aura was getting stronger and stronger. Wisps of black gas condensed into bubbles and quickly rose from the Great Rift Valley. This phenomenon wasn't only noticed by Lin Xian, but also by the others. Many people stood up excitedly and looked at the Great Rift Valley in front of them with fiery eyes. In front of them, countless bubbles appeared in the terrifying Great Rift Valley, forming a very strange scene. The black bubbles quickly floated in the water and condensed together, forming a blurry black figure. The figure was too blurry. Only one person could be vaguely seen, and the others couldn't be seen clearly. However, the moment the black figure condensed, it emitted an ancient aura that quickly spread out in all directions. The aura was too terrifying. It directly pressed the three demon generals to the ground. Lin Xian and the others also held their breaths and looked over with rapt attention. After the figure appeared, the surrounding river water also fluctuated violently and quickly gathered in front of the figure. Countless black water condensed under the blurry figure, forming a black dragon that circled under the figure's feet. In the next moment, a low dragon's roar was heard. Like muffled thunder, it quickly spread out in all directions. This roar contained an aura that made one's soul tremble. Those martial artists with weaker strength all trembled and sat on the ground, paralyzed. However, their eyes were filled with madness. Countless people shouted crazily as if they were possessed. Lin Xian and the others also changed their expressions, especially Bing Ling. She, who was as cold as ice, showed a surprised expression for the first time. Niwa of Gojoseon. She was too shocked. That aura was definitely not something a venerable could release. It was the aura of a king. That blurry figure was actually a king. Needless to say, there was only one king who had fallen in the Black River, and that was the famous Niwa of Gojoseon from thousands of years ago. At this moment, everyone was in a frenzy. Old Monster Su from the Iron Sword sect and the middle-aged expert from the Huangfu family all looked ahead with solemn expressions. On the giant python's head, Xiaomei also put away her seductive appearance. Her expression was filled with madness and passion. A king's treasure. It's really a king's treasure. She was too excited. She was far more excited than the others. This was because the Black Water City had a water dragon pill. It was personally refined by the Niwa of Gojoseon. Not only her, but all the warriors in the Black Water City were so excited that they were trembling. This is the Niwa of Gojoseon? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Sword light flashed in his eyes as he carefully sensed the other party's aura. Chapter 865. Shocking, it was indeed shocking. That aura was too powerful, as if it had a natural suppression on martial artists, making them want to kneel down and worship it. Fortunately, he had the great dragon sword soul in his body, which could ignore the suppression. Otherwise, he would not be in a good condition. In front of him, the hazy figure stood in the water, exuding an unparalleled suppression. Under the fervent gazes of countless people, the hazy figure slowly raised its arm. It's moving! It's moving! Countless people were excited, and they were all nervously watching the hazy figure's every move. Lin Xian was also nervously watching. The hazy figure in front of him slowly raised its arm with its palm facing the sky, exuding an aura that looked down on the world. In the next moment, the Black River water splashed and quickly condensed toward the hazy figure. It kept rolling and surging into the figure's palm. A black energy ball quickly condensed on the figure's palm, flashing with a terrifying light. Soon, the black energy ball entered the palm and quickly flowed along the fingers. The 5 fingertips emitted light, and 5 pillars of light shot out. They were like 5 true dragons, rushing in 5 directions. A deep dragon roar sounded, and the 5 true dragons quickly grew in size, forming a 300-meter-long body. They tore the river water apart, roaring and rushing in all directions. Everyone held their breaths, dumbfounded. The 5 ferocious true dragons stood in 5 different directions. Then, their huge bodies circled and drilled into the river. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying vibrations were produced, and the bottom of the river seemed to be on the verge of cracking. Boom. 5 black pillars of light surged out from the ground and rushed into the sky, converging into a point. Lin Xian and the rest raised their heads and looked at the black point in the sky. The black point quickly grew in size, forming a pitch-black door. The black door shone with a black light, and there were two lifelike black dragons swimming on it. They emitted a terrifying aura, as if it was the gate of hell. Treasure, the king's treasure. It's finally appeared. Countless people raised their heads and shouted crazily, their eyes filled with madness. They were too excited. The king's treasure that had been buried for thousands of years had finally appeared, and they had even encountered it. This was definitely an extremely lucky thing. As long as they could enter the black door and obtain one or two treasures, they would be able to laugh proudly. After all, it was the treasure left behind by a king. Thinking of this, countless people took to the air and rushed toward the pitch-black gate in the sky. Lin Xian looked at the pitch-black door in the sky and took a deep breath. He was also very tempted by the things left behind by the kings. Previously, he had obtained a king's inheritance. With that king's inheritance, he was able to kill experts above his level. And now, the treasure in front of him was actually a king's treasure. After tasting the sweetness of a king's legacy, how could Lin Xian give up on the king's treasure? The others were also tempted. No one could remain calm in front of a king's treasure. Maintain the formation. We'll rush up too, Icicle said in a deep voice. At this moment, there was a hint of redness on her calm face. In the next moment, she stomped her foot and shot upwards like a shooting star. Lin Xian and the others followed behind her and charged upwards as well. When Lin Xian arrived in front of the black door, he immediately took a deep breath. He could clearly feel the terrifying pressure emanating from the black door. At the same time, he sensed an aura that was slightly similar to his profound jade platform. Could it be a teleportation array? Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. The black door in front of him was very likely a special teleportation array that transported everyone to the real king's treasure. Sure enough, when he stepped into the pitch-black door, he felt an extremely strong spatial force covering his body and forcibly taking him away. When he reappeared, he found himself in an unfamiliar place. There was no black river around him, and Icicle and the others were not beside him. It seemed that the teleportation array did not have any rules. It was a random teleportation array. Although Lin Xian entered with Icicle and the others, they were teleported to a completely different place. Lin Xian looked around and found that there were other houses in this place besides his. However, he did not recognize any of them. Moreover, he found that this place was extremely strange. The air was very cold, and even the naked eye could see streaks of white icy aura dancing in the air. If Icicle were here, she would definitely be overjoyed. This environment would greatly increase her combat strength. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. This kind of weather was not good for him. He circulated the spiritual qi in his body and formed a protective shield, blocking the cold aura outside of his body. He turned around and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, the little white monkey flew out of the demonic beast pouch. It pulled his hair and pointed in a direction, shouting non-stop. There's something. Lin Xian was familiar with the little white monkey's behavior. It would only react like this when there was a treasure. Let's go and see. Lin Xian put the little white monkey on his shoulder and then stomped his feet. His whole body was like an arrow that left the bow, quickly rushing into the distance. After flying for a short while, he saw a snowy valley that was emitting an even colder aura. In the middle of the valley, there was a blue lotus that was the size of a millstone, swaying with the wind. Snowy demonic lotus. Lin Xian was stunned for a moment and then exclaimed in a low voice. He recognized the snow lotus in the middle of the ice valley. Snowy demonic lotus was an extremely rare ice attribute spirit treasure. Especially the lotus seeds that it produced, they gathered the power of extreme coldness. It could condense a martial artist's spiritual power and strengthen their qi and blood. It was extremely beneficial for martial artists. Moreover, this thing was extremely rare and usually only grew in extremely cold places. He did not expect to see a snowy demonic lotus here. It was indeed a king's treasure. It was indeed a big deal to encounter such a treasure as soon as he entered. The little white monkey shouted excitedly. It could not wait any longer. If it were not for Lin Xian holding it back, it would have rushed out long ago. Wu-ji, the little white monkey, was dissatisfied. Don't worry, I'll take you there now, Lin Xian comforted. This place was very unfamiliar. He did not know if it was dangerous, so he was worried about the little white monkey going alone. He had just comforted the little white monkey when an extremely arrogant laughter came from the side. Ha ha ha. Snowy demonic lotus. It's actually a snowy demonic lotus. This voice contained a strong sense of ecstasy. Then, Lin Xian saw a voice rushing toward the ice valley like a stream of light. The figure was very fast and entered the ice valley in an instant, arriving near the snowy demonic lotus. In the next moment, he stretched out a huge spiritual power hand and grabbed downward. Haha, this snowy demonic lotus is mine. The figure laughed arrogantly. However, before the light hand landed, a blue light pierced through the void and instantly pierced through the figure. The figure did not even have time to scream before he died in the air and fell to the ground. This scene shocked all the surrounding cultivators. Originally, these people's eyes were burning with passion and they couldn't wait to rush into the valley. But now, seeing this scene, they all stopped, their faces filled with fear. Chapter 866. Lin Xian squinted his eyes and looked at the valley with a grave expression. The attack was so fast that even he could not see it clearly. He only saw a blue ray of light shoot out and kill the martial artist instantly. That move was too terrifying. It was even more powerful than an ordinary third-level honorable. This sudden turn of events stunned everyone. Even Lin Xian was extremely shocked. It's the ice toad. The crimson dragon poked its head out and said softly. Lin Xian focused his gaze and looked forward like a sword. Indeed, he saw a blue shadow moving quickly under the lotus. It should be the ice toad that the crimson dragon had mentioned. It seemed like it was not that simple. Lin Xian sighed. Such a treasure would definitely be guarded by a powerful demonic beast. Otherwise, it would have been taken away by someone else. It's just an ice toad. Do you really think it can protect the ice snow lotus? A disdainful voice sounded, followed by the sound of something breaking through the air. A middle-aged woman with an enchanting figure appeared in the air. She looked down at the ice snow demon spirit and the ice toad with a burning gaze. Then, under the envious gazes of the crowd, the middle-aged woman flew towards the ice snow valley. Seeing that there were humans who dared to enter, the ice toad cried out angrily and spat out a blue bubble. An extremely strong energy was emitted from the bubble, causing the surrounding air to freeze. The middle-aged woman saw it and laughed in disdain. She waved her hands and sent out countless palm shadows. Boom! The palm shadows that filled the sky collided with the ice bubble. Immediately, a clanging sound was heard, as if they had hit metal. In the next moment, the ice toad was sent flying. The middle-aged woman reached out to grab the ice lotuses. Poof! She grabbed the ice lotus in her hand and pulled it out forcefully. The bewitching frost lotus was pulled out by her. Seeing this, the surrounding martial artists' breathing quickened. They looked at the middle-aged woman with red eyes. The middle-aged woman snorted and emitted a powerful aura of an honorable martial artist. Everyone was stunned. Instantly, countless martial artists shook their heads and regained their clarity. They knew that the middle-aged woman was very powerful and was not someone they could deal with. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and prepared to attack. Others might be afraid of the middle-aged woman, but he wasn't. It was impossible for him to give up a treasure like the demonic ice lotus. However, in the next moment, he was stunned, because he discovered that another ice lotus had appeared in the valley, blooming beautifully. This, not only Lin Xian, but all the other martial artists were also stunned. This matter was too strange. Could it be that there was more than one bewitching frost lotus? Thinking of this possibility, everyone's eyes lit up again. If this was true, then they all had a chance. Lin Xian was also stunned and puzzled. That's right, the one that was plucked wasn't the real demonic frost lotus. The crimson dragon suddenly said. The real demonic frost lotus is still in the valley. It's not true? Then what is it? Lin Xian frowned. From the looks of it, it doesn't seem fake. The accompanying ice lotus is also a kind of spiritual medicine that grows with the demonic frost lotus. the Crimson Dragon said. In fact, the demonic frost lotus evolved from the accompanying ice lotus. According to the Crimson Dragon's description, Lin Xian understood that there was no such thing as a demonic frost lotus. They were all ordinary ice lotuses. However, these ice lotuses competed together and in the end, the winner evolved into the demonic frost lotus, while the others became the accompanying ice lotus. As if to prove the Crimson Dragon's words, countless accompanying ice lotuses appeared in the ice valley in front of them. They slowly rotated and emitted a blue light. So many. The surrounding martial artists were shocked and then ecstatic. They didn't know about the accompanying ice lotuses, but this didn't stop them from being ecstatic. This many ice lotuses were enough for them to share. When she saw this scene, the face of the middle-aged woman from before sank. A trace of anger surfaced in her long and narrow eyes. Get lost. In the next moment, she roared and waved her sleeve. A terrifying force blasted several nearby martial artists into a bloody mist. Retreat. Countless martial artists felt their scalps go numb. They quickly distanced themselves from the middle-aged woman and flew towards the ice valley from another direction. Roar. Soon, angry roars came from the ice valley. Several huge figures appeared and fought with the martial artists. It seemed that there was more than one guardian beast. Lin Xian also moved and flew towards the ice valley. However, another angry roar came from the side. Get lost. The voice was like thunder, surging towards Lin Xian. The surrounding icebergs exploded, unable to withstand the force. It turned out that the surrounding martial artists had all retreated. Only Lin Xian was still there, and he was flying towards the middle-aged woman. This was normal because it was the shortest route. Any martial artist would do this. However, this action was seen as a provocation in the eyes of the middle-aged woman. Moreover, she was in a bad mood because she did not get the real bewitching frost lotus. She could vent her anger on Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face darkened. He did not provoke her at all, but she wanted to kill him. Even a clay figurine would be angry, let alone him. Humph. With a cold snort, Lin Xian bent his finger and flicked it out quickly. A blood-red sword wave rushed out quickly. Wherever it passed, the ground shattered. Bang! The sword wave and the sound wave collided, making a buzzing sound. What? The middle-aged woman suddenly exclaimed. She found that the sword wave had cut through the sound wave and was rushing towards her. She could not believe it. Her opponent was a level 2 brat. She could kill such a person with a shout. However, the situation was beyond her expectations. With a cold snort, the middle-aged woman waved her palm and released a vast amount of energy. The terrifying light palm and the blood-red sword wave collided, making a shocking explosion again. In the chaotic airflow, the middle-aged woman took a step back. Lin Xian, on the other hand, maintained his speed and flew toward the ice valley. Damn it! Looking at the disappearing figure, the middle-aged woman was extremely angry. She could not bear that a junior had forced her to retreat. However, she could not help but heave a sigh of relief. The sword wave just now was too sharp and made her feel uncomfortable. What a strange brat! The middle-aged woman's eyes were gloomy. She snorted and flew towards the valley. However, this time, she did subconsciously avoid Lin Xian. The ice valley was extremely chaotic. There were battles everywhere, and terrifying energy filled the entire space. Countless warriors and monsters were fighting. It was a terrifying scene. Both sides were bloodshot. Not only that, the battles between the warriors were even more tragic. Often, they would be killed by the nearby warriors if they were not paying attention. For a time, everyone was extremely vigilant and did not dare to let others get close to them. Lin Xian saw all of this. He did not pay attention to these people, nor did he stay. Instead, he flew directly into the depths of the valley, because that place was even colder, and it was the place that the little white monkey wanted to go. Soon, he arrived at the depths of the valley. Cold winds blew around him, easily tearing the air apart. The coldness made warriors below the honorable realm not dare to get close. Chapter 867. In the depths of the Ice Frost Valley, the cold wind was bone-chilling. Martial artists below the honorable realm were unable to enter. Lin Xian's eyes flashed as he reached out his hand to grab a few times. He found that they were all ice lotuses. However, the quality of the ice lotuses here was better than the ones outside. But no matter how good they were not ice snow demonic lotuses. Lin Xian's target was the ice snow demonic lotuses. He released his soul power and quickly searched around. At this moment, another wave of spiritual energy came from behind, carrying a powerful aura. Lin Xian frowned and turned around. He found that there were more martial artists behind him. These people had powerful auras and were undoubtedly experts. It seemed that the others were not satisfied with the ice snow demonic lotuses and wanted to find better ones. However, the demonic lotuses were not easy to find. Whether or not they could find them depended on their abilities. He retracted his gaze and was about to turn around when he saw a few more figures appear in the air. This time, his brows furrowed even tighter. These people were none other than Xiao Mei and the others from Blackwater City. Of the 6 of them, the one walking at the front was the incomparably flirtatious Xiao Mei, followed closely by the white-haired silver granny who was holding a walking stick. Behind them, there were 4 venerable realm warriors. Such a lineup was undoubtedly very powerful here. Lin Xian recognized them, and Xiao Mei naturally saw Lin Xian as well. Immediately, her lips curled into a devilish smile, and the charm on her face became abnormally strong. Good Yang Qi, I finally found one again. Xiao Mei laughed out loud. Especially when she found that Lin Xian was alone, she licked her lips without restraint. Little brother, we're fated to meet again. Xiao Mei swayed her waist and walked over with a smile. Behind her, the silver granny followed closely. The other 4 martial artists separated and looked around vigilantly. Lin Xian's face darkened. He did not expect to meet them here. However, he quickly smiled again. With his strength, he was not afraid of these people. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up as he said with a smile, "Yes, it's fate. How should I address you, sister?" Hee. Xiao Mei covered her mouth and laughed, her eyes filled with charm. "My name is Xiao Mei. Is little brother alone? This place is too dangerous. Why don't you come with me?" At this point, Xiao Mei moved closer to Lin Xian. She was now less than 3 feet away from him. At this distance, Lin Xian could clearly smell the fragrance of the other party's body, as well as the faintly discernible naked body. However, he refused with a smile. "No, I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first." Lin Xian stopped smiling and turned to leave. "Aya, little brother, don't go." Xiao Mei's seductive voice carried a strange power that made one's limbs go soft. At the same time, she stretched out her jade-like hand to grab Lin Xian. In her palm, there was a tiny silver needle. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't have noticed it. This was the passion flower needle. The person hit by it would burn their entire body. If it wasn't released immediately, they would definitely explode and die. It could be said that this was an extremely sinister method. And now, this poisonous needle was hidden in Xiao Mei's palm and was aimed at Lin Xian. If it was anyone else, they would have been hit. However, Lin Xian's soul force was extremely strong, and he immediately noticed the abnormality. He sneered and pointed his finger. On the tip of his finger, a sharp sword aura surrounded it, bringing with it a shocking blood aura that seemed to want to devour people. Ding! In one strike, the sword aura shattered the passion flower needle. Otherwise, the sword aura would have pierced through Xiao Mei's palm. Pooh! Blood flowed out, followed by a scream. Xiao Mei screamed and quickly retreated. She held her pierced palm and stared at Lin Xian fiercely. "You dare to hurt me? What a joke. You used a hidden weapon to attack me. So what if I hurt you?" Lin Xian laughed with disdain. "You're courting death." Xiao Mei was so angry that her body trembled. "Kill him. Kill him for me. Chop off his limbs. I want to suck his yang energy dry." "Humph. I knew you weren't a good person." Lin Xian snorted. Seeing that the other party had shed all pretense of cordiality, he no longer had any scruples. After all, there were only a few of them here. Even if he killed Xiao Mei, it wouldn't be a big deal. At most, he would be hunted down by the people from Blackwater City. There were many people who wanted his life, and Blackwater City was nothing. "Brat, you dare to hurt my family's Mississippi, kneel down and accept your death." Behind him, Grandma Silver's voice was cold as she waved the brown cane in her hand. The other four martial artists worked together to seal off the area, preventing Lin Xian from escaping. These people all looked at Lin Xian with a sinister smile, their bodies surrounded by killing intent. "You were lucky to be able to escape last time. Today will be the day of your death. So it was you guys who did it." Lin Xian's face darkened. "You dare to kill a disciple of Senmu College? You guys sure have guts. If you die, who will know that we killed you?" Grandma Silver's voice was hoarse with a bone-piercing chill. "That's true." Lin Xian nodded. "Similarly, if you guys die, the people of Blackwater City won't know that I killed you." He punched out and blocked the snake-headed cane in the air. "Brat, you're too arrogant. Die." Grandma Silver didn't say anything else and attacked with all her might. Boom. The terrifying energy exploded, shattering the surrounding icebergs. Countless mountains collapsed, and rocks fell. Blocked it? Grandma Silver's pupils shrank. She was very surprised, and then her orange peel-like old face became extremely ferocious. "Attack! Attack together and kill him!" A voice filled with killing intent reverberated. The four martial artists also growled and attacked. "Formation!" A low voice sounded, and four black formation flags appeared. They fluttered in the air and sealed the entire space. Buzz! 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 Black light flashed, and the black flags roared. The four flags continued to expand, like four black mountains, suppressing the surroundings. Terrifying black gas filled the air, enveloping the surroundings. A cold wind blew, and muffled thunder sounded. Brat, let's see where you can escape this time." Grandma Silver laughed sinisterly as she walked over with her cane. "Let's go. I've never thought of escaping." Lin Xian sneered. "You still dare to be stubborn? Fine. I'll let you see my true strength." The old woman was very confident, and her eyes flashed. "Grandma Silver, keep him alive. I must get his yang energy." Xiaomei gritted her teeth and said from behind, "Don't worry, Mississippi. I know what to do." Grandma Silver nodded, and her cold gaze once again enveloped Lin Xian. Boom. In the next moment, a powerful spiritual energy burst out from her body. Light flowed around her body, and her withered skin seemed to become lustrous. Not only that, the cane in her hand was replaced by a black flag. The black flag swayed, and a cold wind blew, tearing the ground apart. "Brat, today I'll refine you into dregs." Grandma Silver laughed sinisterly and quickly waved the black flag in her hand. It was as if a dark cloud was floating. Countless black lights appeared, carrying a terrifying aura, and enveloped Lin Xian. Chapter 868. Granny Silver held a large black flag and waved it quickly. Black light bloomed and enveloped Lin Xian. Boom! Lin Xian swung his fists and unleashed a series of golden fist shadows that blotted out the sky and the sun. They were incomparably mighty as they blasted out in all directions. The golden fist collided with the black light, creating a rumbling sound. At the same time, the black flag around them also bloomed with light. Countless black auras fell down like a black waterfall, constantly surging and shaking the entire valley. Countless black auras rushed toward Lin Xian as if to devour him. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Golden light shone from his body, forming a huge shadow of a golden giant. It stood indomitable and tore apart the black auras. The golden giant was too terrifying. It directly uprooted an iceberg and smashed it toward Granny Silver and the others. Rumble. The scene was too shocking. An iceberg rose from the ground and quickly fell. A large black shadow was cast on the ground, covering the warriors. "Break for me!" Granny Silver snorted and quickly waved the black flag. A black flood dragon rushed out of the flag, its huge body smashing into the iceberg and shattering it. This collision caused a large crack to appear on the ground. It was a terrifying scene. "Suppress it with all your might," Granny Silver shouted coldly. At the same time, she waved the black flag in her hand, making the flood dragon more realistic. Around him, the four warriors also attacked. 4 flood dragons flew out and intertwined in the air to form a flood dragon diagram that enveloped Lin Xian. The black flood dragon diagram emitted a terrifying aura, as if it could suppress everything in the world. Lin Xian's expression was solemn. He was ready to draw his long sword and attack with all his might. At this time, the Crimson Dragon said, "Kid, there's a special aura fluctuation below." Below? Fluctuation? Lin Xian was stunned. Then, he understood and his eyes lit up. In this Frost Valley, the only thing that could attract the Crimson Dragon's attention was probably the demonic Frost Lotus. As for below, it should be under the ice. Could it be that the demonic Frost Lotus is under the ice? Lin Xian thought. If that was the case, then the news must not be leaked. Otherwise, it would cause a lot of trouble. Lin Xian smiled as he looked at the pitch-black flood dragon diagram above him. Now was a good opportunity. He could use the Jiao Dragon diagram as a cover to sneak under the ice. At the thought of this, Lin Xian quickly activated the red lotus armor and covered his body, forming a strong defense. In the next moment, the pitch-black Jiao Dragon diagram crashed down. Boom! The entire ground was trembling, the earth was cracking, and the icebergs were shaking. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions. Seeing this scene, Grandma Silver and the others laughed. If he was struck by the flood dragon diagram, that brat would definitely die. Moreover, this flood dragon diagram had another special characteristic, and that was that regardless of whether a martial artist was dead or alive, it could still forcibly absorb yang qi. In this way, not only did he kill his opponent, but he also obtained the yang energy. It could be said that he had killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Xiaomei also looked forward with a cold smile, her eyes filled with anticipation. With his yang energy, she might be able to break through to the 3rd heaven of the supremacy realm. In front of them, the black aura circled around and disappeared quickly. The 5 flood dragons roared and flew back into the 5 black flags. Grandma Silver waved her hand and grabbed the black flags back into her hand. In the next moment, her face suddenly changed. "What's wrong?" Xiaomei asked with a frown. "There's no yang energy?" Grandma Silver's face darkened. She carefully sensed and realized that the black flood dragon she had summoned back did not absorb the brat's yang energy. No. Xiaomei was stunned. How is this possible? The black flood dragon is a treasure that absorbs yang energy. She did not believe it, because she had never failed to use the black flood dragon before. "Unless he's not dead," Grandma Silver said coldly. "He's not dead? Then where did he go?" Xiaomei asked. She was very anxious. After all, the brat's life depended on whether she could break through to the 3rd heaven of the supremacy realm. In the battle just now, we sealed off all directions. He had no chance to escape. The only place he could have gone is underground. Grandma Silver looked at the cracked ground in front of her with flickering eyes. Underground? Xiaomei also looked in front of her. There was a huge crack in the ice layer that stretched for 1,000 meters. "Then," she said anxiously, "then what are we waiting for? Let's chase after him. We must catch him." "Miss, don't be impatient. The ice layer underground is not that easy to enter. The coldness down there is more than 10 times that above. If a supremacy sun went down, he would not be able to survive. Even a 3rd heaven supremacy would not be able to stay down there for a long time. That brat is only a 2nd heaven supremacy. Although his strength is comparable to a 3rd heaven supremacy, it is impossible for him to stay down there for a long time. How about this? Let's wait here for 2 hours. If that brat doesn't come out after 2 hours, it means that he died down there. There's no need for us to wait any longer. It's better to look for other treasures." Hearing Grandma Silver's analysis, Xiaomei nodded. "Okay, let's do it." The group sat there and waited patiently. However, after 2 hours, the brat still did not come out. "Miss, let's not wait any longer. Even a 3rd heaven supremacy would have frozen to death down there. Damn it! Damn it!" Xiaomei was so angry that she stomped her feet. She could not accept the fact that the yang energy that she had set her eyes on had run away just like that. Damn it! The brat would rather freeze to death down there than be caught by her. She was so angry. "Brat, I will catch your companions and suck their yang energy dry. Then, I will torture them to death. You forced me to do this. Xiaomei gritted her teeth. Her expression was ferocious. She snorted coldly and left quickly with Grandma Silver and the rest. After all, she had not come here to capture Lin Xian. She had a more important mission. Lin Xian arrived at the bottom of the ice layer. He immediately felt that the coldness around him was far more piercing than above. Without any hesitation, he activated the red lotus armor and released the concept of fire to resist it. A bright red armor covered his body. Flames danced on it, resisting the coldness around him. It had to be said that the red lotus armor was too powerful. Not only could it resist attacks, but it could also resist the coldness. Moreover, this was only an illusion. If it was made from the real armor, the effect would be heaven-defying. It seemed that when he returned this time, he would have to take back the Phoenix Blood Crimson Gold. Lin Xian decided that when he returned to the academy, he would bring people to the Wind City's Huang family and take back the Phoenix Blood Crimson Gold. He had already collected many rare treasures. In addition to the Phoenix Blood Crimson Gold, he could already make a small portion of the armor. With the support of the red lotus armor, the coldness around him was minimized. At least he could stay here for a long time. He did not know that Xiaomei and the rest were still waiting outside. At this moment, he was using his soul power to sense the strange energy fluctuation. Go further down. It's still below. The Crimson Dragon transmitted. Chapter 869. Lin Xian nodded. Without any hesitation, a sharp sword radiance appeared on his body as he rushed downwards. Wherever he passed, the ice layer cracked. Nothing could stop him. The deeper he went, the colder the air became. In the end, even a third heaven venerable did not dare to stay. Fortunately, Lin Xian had the red lotus armor. Otherwise, he would not have been able to reach this place. When Lin Xian arrived at the depths of the ice layer, he immediately scanned his surroundings. Soon, he found a lotus flower in the ice layer at the bottom right. It was blue and emitted a strange fragrance. The lotus flower was crystal clear and contained traces of multicolored light. As the light flowed, it carried a coldness that made one's soul tremble. The aura contained a mysterious fluctuation. It was the same fluctuation that the Crimson Dragon had sensed earlier. The Crimson Dragon stared down and said, "Ice Snow Demonic Lotus." That's right. This is the Ice Snow Demonic Lotus. Lin Xian also took a deep breath and looked down with a fiery gaze. He did not expect the Ice Snow Demonic Lotus to really be under the ice layer. In fact, this was normal. It was the safest to be under the ice layer, which was hundreds of meters deep. This place was so cold that even a third heaven venerable would not dare to enter. Even if a powerhouse discovered it, they might not be able to take it. Only a cultivator like Lin Xian, who possessed the red lotus armor with such strong defense, would be able to come here. Slowly exhaling, Lin Xian calmed himself down. The sword radiance on his body surged like a sharp sword as he quickly flew downwards. However, just as he approached the ice snow demonic lotus, he felt an extremely cold air rush towards him as if it was going to freeze him. Lin Xian used his fire concept and formed a raging fire around him to resist the cold air with all his might. Whoosh! Suddenly, an indiscernible radiance pierced through the void and arrived in front of him in an instant before stabbing down. Bang! In the next moment, the blue radiance hit his chest and made a deep sound. The terrifying force sent him flying. Lin Xian took a few steps back. His entire body was stiff and cold, and his movements became slow. A cold and gloomy aura quickly drilled into his body, causing destruction. Lin Xian quickly circulated the longevity incantation, dispelling the cold air and restoring his senses. At the same time, a look of deep shock appeared in his eyes. It was too terrifying. If he didn't have the red lotus armor, that attack would have pierced through his heart. What was it that possessed such a terrifying aura? Now that he thought about it, his heart was filled with fear. Lin Xian scanned the area with all his might. Found it. Soon, Lin Xian's pupils constricted and his expression turned grave. On the ice snow lotus below, there was a blue ice snake. Its entire body was blue, as if it had fused together with the ice snow bewitching lotus. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't have noticed it at all. The ice snake was only 3 feet long. It coiled around its body, and its blue eyes stared coldly at Lin Xian. On its head, there was a thumb-sized horn that emitted a deep blue light. It's the Unicorn Ice Snake King. He's ranked in the top 100 on the Earth list, the Crimson Dragon said in a deep voice. Ranked in the top 100. Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't expect this seemingly small ice snake to have such a powerful background. You're lucky. This Unicorn Ice Snake King hasn't fully matured yet. Its current strength is equivalent to a third heaven supremacy. Although it's powerful, it's not undefeatable. If he had come a little later and allowed it to devour the ice snow bewitching lotus, even a fourth heaven supremacy might not be able to subdue it. So, my luck is not bad? Lin Xian laughed bitterly. His expression was grave, and he didn't dare to be careless. The previous attack had shown him how powerful his opponent was. This Unicorn Ice Snake King was definitely a threat to his life. Don't worry. With the 3 of us working together, we can definitely subdue it. The Crimson Dragon and the Snow White Monkey jumped out. However, we have to distribute the items first. I don't want the Ice Snow Bewitching Lotus, but you have to help me capture this Unicorn Ice Snake King. The Crimson Dragon wasn't interested in the Ice Snow Bewitching Lotus. However, it was determined to capture the ice snake in front of it. Although it was a snake and couldn't compare to a dragon, it was still a beast ranked in the top 100 on the Earth list. Its bloodline was still very strong. If it could devour its flesh, it would definitely be able to recover a lot of its strength. All right, Lin Xian nodded. Wu Ji the Snow White Monkey also nodded in agreement. The Unicorn Ice Snake King looked at Lin Xian with a mocking look in its eyes. As a beast, it was powerful and intelligent. Naturally, it could tell that although the human in front of it was powerful, he was no match for it. Although it didn't kill him with its previous attack, it believed that if it attacked again, he wouldn't be able to withstand its attack. However, when the 2-foot-long dark red snake appeared, the Unicorn Ice Snake King became nervous. Its entire body tensed up, and its blue eyes were filled with shock and fear. Although its opponent was weaker than it, the aura it exuded was so oppressive that it couldn't breathe. This wasn't a suppression of strength, but a suppression of the bloodline in its body. When it saw the dark red snake, it was like a subject seeing its king. It wanted to bow down and worship it. Hiss hiss. The Unicorn Ice Snake King's body circled around. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out its tongue, letting out angry roars. As a beast ranked in the top 100 on the Earth list, its bloodline was strong and its strength was strong. How could it tolerate someone worshipping it? It was the king here. Everyone had to bow down to it. The appearance of the dark red snake was undoubtedly a challenge to its position. It had to kill its opponent and eat its flesh. Only then could it vent its anger. Only then could it maintain its position as the overlord. Perhaps its opponent's flesh could help it evolve. In the next moment, the Unicorn Ice Snake King moved quickly. Like an icy blue sword, it drew a shadow in the air and quickly pierced towards the Crimson Dragon. Lin Xian was also surprised. He didn't expect the opponent's target to be Ruzalong. He focused his gaze and was about to stop it. He knew that Ruzalong hadn't fully recovered his strength. He was only equivalent to a first heaven honorable. Against the Unicorn Ice Snake King, it would be a little difficult. However, what shocked Lin Xian was that the Crimson Dragon was faster than him. The Crimson Dragon's purplish-gold eyes looked at the blue figure in front of it, showing a trace of disdain. Although it had lost its dragon essence and its strength was greatly reduced, it was still an Eastern divine dragon. Its bloodline was strong and unmatched. Moreover, it was an old monster that had lived for thousands of years. It was very experienced. Dealing with a small snake that hadn't fully matured was a simple matter. Even if its opponent was strong, it could crush it with its bloodline. The dark red divine dragon growled and let out a deep dragon roar. It rushed forward quickly, and a powerful dragon aura shrouded the surroundings. Buzz! The Unicorn Ice Snake King, who was flying at high speed, suddenly froze. Its eyes were filled with deep fear. Chapter 870. It was too powerful. This aura was absolutely suppressive. Its body could not resist at all. It knew that it had underestimated its opponent. The difference in their levels was far greater than it had expected. Run. The unicorn ice snake king turned tail and ran, not daring to stay any longer. Help me stop it, the crimson dragon shouted. Don't let it escape, the crimson dragon shouted. It could only use its aura to intimidate its opponent. If it wanted to escape, it would not be able to stop it. For this, it would have to rely on Lin Xian and the little white monkey. As soon as the crimson dragon finished speaking, the little white monkey turned into a ray of white light and chased after the unicorn ice snake king. In the next moment, its furry paw slapped the unicorn ice snake king's head, knocking it unconscious. At the same time, Lin Xian stretched out his palm and used the dragon catcher hands. Golden light flashed, forming two dragon palms that quickly grabbed the unicorn ice snake king. In an instant, the unicorn ice snake king had been captured. At this time, the unicorn ice snake king had recovered from the dizziness. When it saw the situation it was in, it roared in anger. Although it was powerful, the dragon catcher hands was even more powerful. Furthermore, it was executed by Lin Xian using the dragon sword soul. It was extremely powerful. It could not escape at this time. To think that it, the mighty Snake King, was actually being controlled by a little brat. This was something that it could not accept. A murderous look appeared in its cold eyes. The unicorn ice Snake King screamed into the sky. At the same time, the blue horn on its forehead shone brightly. A power that made one's heart tremble was emitted from the horn. The power was too strong. It definitely surpassed the level of a level 3 honorable. Perhaps only a level 4 honorable could release it. In the next moment, the horn was aimed at Lin Xian. Not good. Lin Xian was shocked. He felt like he was on the verge of death. Without hesitation, he quickly pulled out the Lone Star Sword and activated the Dragon Sword Soul to its maximum. Then, he slashed out with his sword. At the same time, the Unicorn Ice Snake King released a blue ray of death that tore through the void. The two collided, creating a terrifying scene. Buzz. Crack. The Lone Star Sword combined with the Great Dragon Sword Soul had an extremely powerful attack power that directly shattered the blue ray. Then, he stabbed out with his sword again. The terrifying sword chi slashed at his opponent's body and tore open a terrifying wound. Kid, control it. Leave the rest to me. Seeing this, the Crimson Dragon howled in delight. It dashed to the side of the Unicorn Ice Snake King and quickly slithered away to set up a formation. Then, he sat in the middle of the formation and tried his best to activate it. Roar. Although the array was unknown, it was very magical. In an instant, the Unicorn Ice Snake let out a miserable cry. Its body twisted crazily, trying to break free from the dragon catcher hands and the array. However, in the next moment, it was struck again, and its entire body was almost split in half. At the same time, a mysterious power was released from the formation and attached to its body, causing its life force to quickly drain away. Not long after, the light in the Snake King's eyes faded. Its body swayed, as if it would collapse at any moment. Kid, that's enough. Let go, the dark red dragon said. Hearing this, Lin Xian put away her Lone Star Sword and dragon catcher hands. She stood to the side and watched quietly. The Crimson Dragon continued to activate the formation, causing the Unicorn Ice Snake King to fall unconscious. Then, it opened its mouth and swallowed the snake whole. Kid, Bin Huang is full. I'm going to rest for a bit, the Crimson Dragon said, then went back into the demon beast pouch. Lin Xian shook his head and ignored it. He then looked down, his eyes burning with passion. In a flash, Lin Xian came to the front of the ice snow lotus. He grabbed it with his 5 fingers, and suddenly, 7 fist-sized blue lotus seeds floated in the air, emitting a cold light. Although the cold air was cold, it gave people a very comfortable feeling. After giving 3 lotus seeds to Little Snow Monkey, Lin Xian kept the remaining 4. He then took a step forward and sat on the lotus with his legs crossed. According to what he knew, the ice lotus seeds were very magical, so he planned to use them immediately. Holding one of the lotus seeds in his hand, Lin Xian activated the art of longevity to absorb the energy in his body. Waves of pure ice energy flew out of the lotus seed and entered Lin Xian's body. Then, it flowed through his meridians. Not long after, the cold air flowed through his body. Lin Xian's body became crystal clear, covered with a layer of blue light. He opened his eyes and felt the spiritual energy in his body become even purer. With a smile on his face, Lin Xian turned to look at the little monkey. Suddenly, his face froze. This little guy directly treated the frost lotus seed as a jelly bean and ate it directly. Soon, the 3 lotus seeds were swallowed by the little monkey. The little monkey let out a satisfied cry. In a flash, the little monkey climbed onto Lin Xian's shoulder, curled up into a ball, and narrowed its eyes. I wonder what will happen if I eat them? Seeing the little monkey's actions, Lin Xian suddenly had the idea of eating them. In the past, these ice crystals were all absorbed by holding them. Very few people would eat them. Now, he decided to try it. Taking out another ice lotus seed, Lin Xian ate it. Soon, a strange cold energy exploded in his body. It flowed like a wild current. Suppress it, Lin Xian snorted. He activated the art of longevity with all his might and quickly calmed the cold air. It had to be said that the art of longevity was very mysterious and powerful. Under his activation, the wild cold air was quickly suppressed and flowed according to a specific path. At the same time, Lin Xian felt a strange energy in his body. That energy was not a physical existence, but Lin Xian could clearly feel it. This situation seemed to be a concept. That's right, it was a concept. Lin Xian had already comprehended several concepts, so he was very familiar with this feeling. He was very surprised. He did not expect that eating a snow lotus seed would allow him to comprehend a trace of ice concept. Before this, he had never come into contact with ice attribute energy. However, a single snow lotus seed allowed him to directly comprehend ice concept. As expected of the snow lotus, it's really powerful. Thinking of this, Lin Xian was overjoyed. He quickly swallowed the remaining 2 lotus seeds. In the next moment, the cold energy became more obvious, and it allowed his ice concept to reach the minor accomplishment realm. This snow lotus seed is amazing. Lin Xian opened his eyes, full of shock. He got up and looked at the snow lotus under his feet. Strictly speaking, those lotus seeds were just fruits, but this snow lotus was the real body. What would happen if he ate the snow lotus? Thinking of this, Lin Xian plucked a crystal-clear lotus petal and took a bite. This action startled the little monkey. The little monkey stared blankly at Lin Xian with its black, gem-like eyes and kept scratching its head. Chapter 871. It stuck its head out and took a bite of the lotus petal before quickly spitting it out. Not only that, it kept spitting with a look of disdain. Then, the snow-white fox looked at Lin Xian with disdain. It snorted twice before curling up into a ball and squinting its eyes. F***CK. I'm being looked down on by a monkey. Lin Xian's mouth twitched. However, he did not give up because the concept of ice in his body had increased once again. It's indeed effective. Lin Xian was pleasantly surprised and could not help but increase his devouring speed. If someone was here and saw this scene, their jaw would drop. It's fine if you ate the lotus seed, but now you're even eating the lotus. This is a little crazy. Lin Xian did not care. He was now comprehending the concept of ice in his body. In just a short while, his concept of ice had reached the greater success stage, and he had only eaten 2 petals. Forget it. I'll eat it all. Lin Xian looked at the remaining lotus platform, and lotus roots with a fiery gaze. In the depths of Frost Valley, the ground was cracked and terrifying cracks spread out in all directions. This was caused by the previous battle. However, a person was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the ruins. This person was dressed in a black robe and had a cold expression. He carried a large black flag on his back that flapped loudly in the wind. This martial artist was one of Xiao Mei's team members. At this moment, he had been left behind to continue monitoring this place. Xiao Mei had ordered him to monitor this place for a day. If he did not find anything unusual after a day, he was to return. From this, It could be seen how big Xiao Mei's obsession was. She really wanted to obtain the yang energy. However, this martial artist in black robe did not care. He only sat cross-legged and closed his eyes to cultivate, not caring about what was happening around him. This was because, in his opinion, a second heaven supremacy had no chance of surviving after entering the icy world below. One had to know that even a third heaven supremacy would have frozen to death after such a long time. However, due to the orders, he could only stay here for a day. Time passed and half a day had passed. The martial artist in black robe was getting impatient. Damn, brat. Even in death you can't stop worrying. The black-robed cultivator snorted coldly. He couldn't wait to find the other party's corpse and whip it a few times. However, in the next moment, the ice surface in front of him began to tremble slightly. The ground that had already cracked open became hideous once again. What? Is there a situation? The black-robed warrior was stunned. Then, he quickly stood up and looked ahead with a dignified look. In the next moment, a sword ray flew out from below and soared into the sky. The black-robed cultivator focused his gaze and looked up at the sky. At the same time, his body shook and an incredulous expression appeared on his face. What? That kid was still alive. How is this possible? He was too shocked. One had to know that it was extremely cold under the ice. Even a third-rank venerable would have frozen to death after staying there for such a long time. But now, a second heaven exalted realm brat had actually come out unscathed. This was simply too shocking. Impossible. Could it be that this brat has been hiding all this time and didn't go under the ice? The black-clothed martial artist was bewildered. He didn't believe that this young man had rushed up from beneath the ice. He thought that this young man must have been hiding somewhere, and now that he had come out, it was obvious that he wanted to escape. Lin Xian also saw the black-robed cultivator below, and his face immediately turned gloomy. He didn't expect that the other party had not given up and had actually sent a martial artist to stay here. Since you're here, then stay here. A cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Brat, how dare you escape? Today you'll die. The black-robed cultivator snorted coldly. He flipped his hand and pulled out the large black flag behind his back and waved it quickly. Boom! Black fog filled the air and quickly dispersed. It was as if a dark cloud had shrouded the entire area. A deep roar was heard, and a huge black dragon loomed in the clouds. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions. Brat, die! The black-robed cultivator sneered and waved the large black flag with all his might. Suddenly, the huge dragon in the sky stretched out its dragon claws and grabbed at Lin Xian. You want to fight? That's good. I can test my new martial soul. Lin Xian sneered. He raised his arm slightly and circulated his spiritual energy. Then, the void behind him blurred and a blue lotus quickly condensed. The lotus was crystal clear. As soon as it appeared, it emitted a cold aura that froze the surrounding air. Lin Xian looked up at the void and looked at the incoming black dragon. He stretched out his hand and grabbed at the dragon. Ka. In the next moment, the blue ice lotus shadow and the huge black dragon claw collided. A terrifying sound was heard. Clouds of cold air gushed out and wrapped around the black dragon's claw, freezing it. Then, the terrifying cold air flowed along the dragon's claw and quickly spread throughout the dragon's body. Ice seal, Lin Xian said coldly. The blue lotus behind him rotated and released an extremely cold aura that instantly froze the dragon. What? How is this possible? The black-robe cultivator was shocked. He didn't expect that the black dragon would be frozen in an instant. This was too shocking. This brat's strength is terrifying. The black-robe cultivator was shocked. He swallowed his saliva with difficulty and looked up at the sky. Suddenly, his pupils constricted and he stared at the lotus. Ice snow bewitching lotus. Damn it! This brat got the demonic ice snow lotus. In an instant, he understood that Lin Xian must have had a fortuitous encounter and got the demonic ice snow lotus. This greatly increased his strength and allowed him to freeze the black dragon. I must report this to the young Mississippi. We must get rid of this brat. The black-robed cultivator was shocked. He decided that he must send this important news back. Holding the black flag, the black-robed cultivator turned into a black smoke and rushed into the distance. "Don't you think it's too late to leave?" Lin Xian sneered and stepped on the air. Behind him, a blue lotus spun quickly. "I seal the world." He waved his arm and his cold voice spread in all directions. The blue lotus flew into the sky and released thousands of icy auras, freezing everything within 100 miles. "Open!" The black-robed cultivator roared and threw a punch at the blue ice seal. However, he still underestimated the icy aura. The terrifying punch didn't break the ice seal. Instead, the icy aura slowed his movements and his entire body seemed to be frozen. He still wanted to resist, but in the next moment, the blue lotus had already arrived above his head. It spun gently and instantly froze him. Lin Xian's footsteps flashed, and he arrived beside the black-robed cultivator. He took the black flag away. He gently tapped the ice sculpture with his finger. Countless cracks appeared on the ice sculpture, and it shattered with a loud bang. The black-robed cultivator's body also cracked and fell to the ground. As expected of the ice lotus martial spirit, it is indeed powerful and has endless uses. Lin Xian smiled with satisfaction. That's right, the blue lotus shadow behind him was his second martial spirit, the ice lotus martial spirit. In the underground ice layer, Lin Xian swallowed the entire demonic ice snow lotus. What shocked him was that after swallowing it, he actually condensed the ice lotus martial spirit. Originally, he only wanted to raise the ice concept. He didn't expect to condense the ice lotus martial spirit. This was really a surprise. Chapter 872. Now, he was no longer a cultivation newbie. Of course, he knew that martial spirits could be twinned because there were some special warriors in the world who had twin martial spirits. But he didn't expect that he would also condense a second martial spirit. I wonder if the other essences can also become martial spirits. Lin Xian had a glimmer of hope in his heart. If the essences of wind, thunder, and fire could also be condensed into martial spirits, then his strength would be terrifying. Of course, he was just thinking about it. Even if he could succeed, the process would be extremely difficult. Putting away the ice lotus martial spirit, Lin Xian's figure flashed and flew out of the ice frost valley. At this time, he had already swallowed the ice frost bewitching lotus. There was no reason to stay in this place. Moreover, he had to find Bing Ling and the others, as well as the other king's treasures. Lin Xian quickly flew out of the ice frost valley. He used his soul power to explore the surroundings and then flew towards the north. Along the way, Lin Xian saw many warriors flying towards the same place. Puzzled, he also followed behind. There should be treasures in the place where so many people were going. If Bing Ling and the others were nearby, they should also be going there. Thinking of this, he sped up. Gradually, vegetation appeared in front of him. It was no longer bare ground. First, there were pine trees, then snow trees, and finally, there was a group of unknown plants. Most of them were white, forming a snow forest. Those warriors were running towards the depths of the forest. After passing through the dense forest, Lin Xian found that the area in front of him suddenly became spacious. Under the 1,000-foot-tall ice mountain, there were a few 100-foot-tall caves. The warriors in front of him saw the icy caves and were overjoyed. They couldn't help but speed up. These people were all good at finding treasures. According to their experience, there should be some rare treasures in these caves. With a flash, Lin Xian also went in. Sure enough, there was another world inside. It was like a palace. There were halls, stone rooms, cultivation rooms, and all kinds of things. It should be a ruin left by the ancient people. After passing through many stone corridors and several halls, Lin Xian didn't stop. He kept running towards the depths. This distance had already exceeded the distance of the mountain range. He guessed that it should lead to the underground. Boom! A low and deep voice rang out in front of them. Like muffled thunder, it quickly spread in all directions, accompanied by a violent spiritual energy. In front of him, several martial artists were unable to dodge in time and were swept by the fierce and violent spirit qi and were immediately sent flying. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He flicked out a ray of sword qi from his finger and immediately split the spiritual chi apart. A vacuum appeared where he was standing, and on both sides, strong winds blew, blowing against the stone walls, causing them to shake violently. Up ahead, there was a fork in the road, one on the left and one on the right. Lin Xian stood at the fork in the road, thinking about which way to go. At this moment, a shout came from the left passage. Scram! Accompanying this voice was a wave of scorching spiritual energy. It was indeed very strange for such a heat wave to appear in this world of ice and snow. Lin Xian frowned, because he found that the sound was made by the eastern phoenix. With a single step, his body swayed as he rushed towards the left side of the passage. At the same time, angry laughter came from the front again. Haha, I didn't expect to see you here again. Little beauty, be obedient and let me have my fun. Maybe I'll let you go. Otherwise, today will be the day you die. You should have thought of today's ending if you dared to provoke our White Sharks gang. Another arrogant voice rang out. At this moment, in a large hall on the left passage, countless martial artists were gathered. Some were lone wolves, some were in small teams, and all kinds of forces were gathered here. However, among the many forces, there was one that was the most powerful. There were about 20 people in this team, and the two leaders were a bald man and a scarred man. Their powerful auras shrouded the entire space. These people were from the White Sharks gang that Lin Xian and the others had met before. Where they stood, no other martial artists dared to approach. In front of them, there were several huge stone statues. The one in front was a woman carrying a sword case on her back. Her hands were supporting the sky, and her feet were stepping on lotuses. Beside the stone statue, there was a fiery red figure. It was a beautiful woman with delicate features and an impressive figure. She wore a red soft armor that accentuated her exquisite curves. Around her, there were countless flames dancing, forming a halo. This woman was Dongfang Phoenix. At this moment, she was holding a crimson red whip in her right hand and a foot-long short sword in her left hand. Her delicate face carried a trace of anger, and her beautiful eyes were burning with anger. If I were you, I wouldn't resist. The ending will be the same anyway. If I resist, I'll just suffer more. The bald man looked at Dongfang Phoenix, and the corner of his mouth curled up into a sinister smile. The scarred man coldly shouted, "Stupid girl, hand it over quickly. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Tui, I was the one who found it first, and you guys took it. Now you want to take what's in my hand. Do you have any shame?" Dongfang Phoenix was so angry that she stomped her feet. Her beautiful eyes were filled with intense anger. She wished she could burn all of them to ashes. However, although she was angry, she did not act rashly. This was because the scarred man's strength had reached the third heaven of the Venerable Realm, and the bald man was also a top second heaven of the Venerable Realm. Dongfang Phoenix had a chance of winning against any one of them. However, the situation was dangerous when the two of them worked together. Moreover, the other party had a group of strong underlings. If they really fought, she might be besieged. You don't know how to appreciate favors. When I catch you, I'll play you to death. The scarred man snorted coldly and then took a step forward. There was a green sword in his hand. Under the stimulation of his spiritual power, it emitted a dazzling green light. The light was so dazzling that it almost dyed the entire space green. An extremely sharp aura quickly gushed out from the light. When the surrounding martial artists saw the green sword, many of them were enraged and swallowed their saliva. They naturally knew that the green sword in the scarred man's hand was the treasure he found in the main hall. To be exact, he obtained it from the female stone statue. However, he was not the one who found it. He was the one who snatched it. The first person to find the green sword was Dongfang Phoenix. She found the green sword in the sword case on the female stone statue's back. After Dongfang Phoenix arrived at the main hall, she quickly searched and then looked at the female stone statue. When she opened the sword case on the female stone statue, a green light and a red light gushed out and immediately lit up the entire main hall. Along with it came a frighteningly sharp aura. This phenomenon caused a stir in the entire main hall. Chapter 873. These people knew that only a top-grade spirit-grade artifact could emit such an aura. This kind of artifact was already a top-grade artifact. Apart from the half-Earth-grade artifacts, it was the most precious spirit artifact. Under normal circumstances, only people from large factions would possess such a top-grade artifact. Ordinary martial artists, even third-level honorables, might not be able to obtain a top-grade artifact. One could imagine how precious a top-grade spirit-grade artifact was. At this moment, 2 top-grade artifacts had appeared in the main hall at the same time. How could the crowd not be tempted? Countless people's eyes burned with passion as they rushed toward the stone statue. However, in the chaotic battle, the scarred man used his third-level honorable martial artist strength to snatch the green sword. As for the red short sword, it was protected by Dongfang Fengwang. However, the green and red swords were originally a pair of mother-son swords. They could only unleash their greatest power when combined. If they were separated, their power would be greatly reduced. How could the scarred man be willing to give up after obtaining the green sword? Therefore, he set his sights on Dongfang Fengwang. They were determined to obtain the green and red mother-son swords. Moreover, Dongfang Fengwang was extremely beautiful. It was difficult for them to raise her. Regardless of the reason, they would attack Dongfang Fengwang. Stinky girl, I advise you to surrender. Otherwise, you'll be in for a treat later. The scarred man's voice was cold. He was the leader of the White Sharks gang. His strength had reached third-level honorable martial artist. He was quite famous in the Black Water River Basin. At this moment, he was about to attack, causing the entire place to tense up. Dongfang Fengwang was trembling with anger. The other party was too shameless. Not only did he snatch the green sword, but he also wanted to snatch the red short sword in her hand. Did he really think she was easy to bully? If he wanted the short sword, he would have to exchange it with his life. Dongfang Fengwang said through gritted teeth. In the next moment, the divine flames on her body danced and formed a phoenix shadow that enveloped her entire body. The power was terrifying. It swept out in all directions, causing the originally cold space to heat up. Countless ice melted rapidly in the surroundings, forming water droplets. Then, they evaporated and formed a white mist that covered the entire space. This scene shocked the surrounding martial artists. It seemed that the girl in red was not a pushover. However, the bald man sneered disdainfully. Little beauty, I admit that you are very strong. I'm afraid no one can completely subdue you in a one-on-one battle. But no matter how strong you are, you're only one person. You absolutely can't escape from the palm of our hands. The bald man laughed evilly, then turned to look at the scarred man. Boss, hurry up and make a move. Capture this chick so that we don't have to worry too much. Yes, the scarred man nodded. He was originally a bandit, so he didn't care about the morals of the Jianghu, nor did he know how to fight alone. Moreover, this was a king's treasure trove. There were many treasures here, so he couldn't waste too much time here. He had to end this quickly. Seeing the scarred man nod his head, the bald man grinned. Then, his aura erupted. Insolent laughter reverberated in the surroundings. Everyone was shocked and shook their heads. The White Sharks gang was a notorious bandit gang in the Heishui River region. This kind of person would not care about anything. Now, it seemed that with the 2 gang leaders taking action, the red-clothed girl would not be able to escape. Dongfang Fengwang gritted her teeth when she saw the 2 of them step forward. Her eyes were filled with determination. It would be difficult for her to deal with the 2 of them alone. However, even if she had to risk her life today, she would not let them have it easy. Thinking of this, she channeled all her spiritual energy. The flames outside her body became more vigorous. The red soft whip in her hand turned into a red dragon, roaring ferociously. The red short sword in her left hand also released a fierce aura. Go. Let's do this, the scarred man said coldly. Then, his body moved violently, and like an afterimage, he quickly pounced forward. The long sword in his hand danced, forming a green sword screen that quickly shrouded the area in front of him. The bald man also roared and quickly followed up. He reached out his white jade-like palm to grab the area in front of him. In an instant, a terrifying energy spread out in all directions. The surrounding martial artists all retreated. Dongfang Fenghuang also shouted and quickly swung the treasured weapon in her hand. An earth-shattering collision sounded, causing the entire hall to shake. However, the combined strength of the scarred man and the bald man was too terrifying. Dongfang Fenghuang could only hold on for a moment before she was sent flying. "Little beauty, I'm coming." Hideous laughter rang out as the two figures quickly approached. "Am I going to die here?" Dongfang Fenghuang revealed a trace of sadness. She was ready to fight to the death. She would not let them have their way. In the next moment, she was about to burn her spiritual energy. Suddenly, the void trembled. Countless amounts of cold air condensed and formed an iceberg above the hall. It pressed down on the scarred man and the bald man. Although the iceberg was not big, it emitted a monstrous chill, causing people to tremble uncontrollably. The scarred man and the bald man suddenly raised their heads, revealing a trace of shock. Then, they roared and quickly attacked. Boom! A terrifying collision sound reverberated. The scarred man and the bald man were blocked, especially the bald man, who was forced back by the icy cold aura. What? We're saved? Dongfang Fenghuang's beautiful eyes were shocked. Looking at the iceberg that suddenly appeared, she breathed a sigh of relief. In front of her, the blue iceberg blocked the scarred man and the bald man. "Who is it? How dare you interfere with the White Sharks gang's business? Come out and face your death." The bald man was pushed back and roared madly. The scarred man's expression was also cold, his eyes looking around. "Who are you? Sneaking around? Come out." "Hee, what White Sharks gang? Shameless indeed. Two big men bullying a little girl. Is your face grown on a dog's body?" A sharp voice of mockery rang out and reverberated throughout the hall. Everyone was shocked. Not many people dared to say such things to the White Sharks gang. That mysterious person was really bold. The White Sharks gang members were also infuriated as they clamored. The scarred man and the bald man's expressions were gloomy. Their bodies emitted a cold, murderous aura that swept across the hall. "I don't care who you are. You're dead for interfering with the White Sharks gang's business. Is that so?" That voice sounded again. "But I think the ones who will die will be you." In the next moment, a figure appeared on the iceberg. It was a handsome young man. He sat on the iceberg and sneered as he looked below the White Sharks gang. "Kid, it's you." Seeing the other party, the scarred man and the bald man's pupils shrank as they cried out in surprise. But when they saw that the other party was alone, they sneered again. "Lin Xian." Dongfang Fenghuang also cried out. Her worried expression was replaced by joy. She didn't expect that it was Lin Xian who saved her. Lin Xian appeared in front of Dongfang Fenghuang in a flash. Looking at her pale face, he asked softly, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." Dongfang Fenghuang shook her head and said in a low voice, "If the two of us work together, we should be able to break through their siege. When I meet up with Senior Sister Bingling and the others, I will definitely take my revenge. There's no need to wait for them. I'll avenge you now," Lin Xian said with a smile. Then, he turned around and looked at the White Sharks gang members. His expression turned cold. "Leave the treasured swords you took and hand over your storage rings. Then, I can spare your lives. As for the two of you," he stared at the scarred man and the bald man. "If you want to live, then destroy your own cultivation." Chapter 874. Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists were in an uproar. All of them widened their eyes in disbelief. Many of them even suspected that their ears were damaged. A young man dared to threaten the White Sharks gang? Was his brain damaged? They thought that some powerful figure had arrived, but it turned out to be a lunatic. If that was the case, the White Sharks gang would suffer a miserable fate next time. Many people shook their heads. On the other side, the White Sharks gang members were furious. All of them stared at Lin Xian and roared crazily. They could not wait to kill him. On the other hand, the scar-faced man and the bald man laughed crazily as if they had heard the funniest joke ever. "Kid, if all of your companions were here, we might not be afraid. But now that you're alone, how dare you speak such big words? You're courting death." The two stopped laughing and their gazes turned cold. You're the first one who dared to threaten the White Sharks gang. I'll let you know that there are some words that cannot be said. You'll have to pay the price for saying them." The scar-faced man stared at Lin Xian with a strong murderous intent in his eyes. "Kid, how dare you meddle in the affairs of the White Sharks gang? I'll let you know what it means to wish you were dead," the bald man said fiercely. The two of them were furious and filled with murderous intent. It was obvious that they wanted to kill. The White Sharks gang had been fighting in the Blackwater River zone for so many years, and no one had ever dared to look down on them. But now, a second Sky Honorable Realm kid dared to provoke them. He was courting death. "Second brother, you go install that stinky girl. I'll take care of this stinky kid myself," the scar-faced man said coldly. "Don't worry, boss. I can still do this." The bald man nodded. He then looked at Eastern Phoenix and revealed a sinister smile. "Be careful." Eastern Phoenix's beautiful eyes showed a trace of worry. "Don't worry. They can't hurt me." Lin Xian smiled. His smile was filled with confidence. "What shameless boasting. I'll let you know my true strength in a while." The scar-faced man took a step forward and his aura rapidly increased. The green sword in his hand emitted a dazzling light like a green moon. It was extremely cold. "I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. I can only say that it was a very foolish decision to make a move." Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, completely ignoring the murderous look in his opponent's eyes. The surrounding cultivators were also shocked as they shook their heads one after another. In their opinion, a young man at the second sky of the Honorable Realm who dared to challenge the scarred man was undoubtedly seeking death. The knife-scarred man revealed a sinister smile as he looked at the young figure. He licked his lips with his scarlet tongue as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. His reputation was not undeserved. In these years of fighting in the Blackwater River, many powerful opponents had died in his hands. There were at least 80, if not 100, little brats like him. He knew that these people were all young geniuses, and all of them had their eyes at the top of their heads and didn't put anyone in their eyes. However, he had been fighting all year round, and his experience and strength were extremely powerful. He definitely wasn't someone a little brat could compare to. In the next moment, the scar-faced man brandished his sword and slashed out. The sword chi turned into a huge shark that quickly rampaged through the void towards Lin Xian. This was an attack that belonged to a third sky of the Honorable Realm. In addition to the power of a top-grade artifact, this attack was extremely powerful. Everyone was shocked and retreated one after another. They felt that the shark had turned into a real demon king that was emitting a terrifying aura. Looking at the shark sword chi that was rushing towards him, Lin Xian's eyes also focused. A cold chill quickly gushed out from his body. A blue aura surged and covered his body, forming a ball of blue light. At the same time, the cold aura that was released caused the temperature of the entire space to continue to drop. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian activated the cold aura and the great dragon sword soul, striking out an ice phoenix. Buzz! The blue aura surged and quickly condensed in the void, forming a huge ice phoenix. The huge body emitted a cold aura that covered the entire hall. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions. Even the void couldn't withstand it and started to tremble violently. In the next moment, the blue ice phoenix collided with the shark sword chi. Boom! This attack was extremely terrifying. The crisscrossing sword chi intertwined and created a shocking explosion. The void shattered, and countless cracks appeared on the ground, spreading out in all directions. A terrifying gust of wind swept in all directions, causing everyone to be unable to open their eyes. When everyone regained their vision and looked over again, they took a deep breath and their eyes were filled with shock. A terrifying deep pit appeared in the center of the area. The scarred man and Lin Xian were standing on both sides of the pit. The two of them didn't seem to have suffered any injuries. This kid can actually withstand the attack of a third heaven supremacy? How is that possible? Countless people gasped in disbelief. One had to know that although the difference between a second heaven and a third heaven was only one heaven, the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to break through such a level of suppression. Only peerless sky prides could challenge someone of a higher level. The handsome young man in front of them was also a sky pride. At the thought of this, everyone's mouths and tongues went dry. They were greatly shocked. Even the members of the White Shark's gang were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. The scarred man was also stunned. Then, he sneered. Sky pride? No wonder you were so arrogant. However, you're unlucky to have met me. I've even killed sky prides before. Today, I'll use your blood as a sacrifice to my newly obtained sword. Humph, a third heaven supremacy is nothing to me. At least, you don't have the right to be arrogant in front of me. Lin Xian said proudly. His eyes flickered with confidence. Before this, he had already killed a third heaven supremacy. Now that he had a second martial soul, his strength had greatly increased. It wouldn't take much effort to kill his opponent. Moreover, time was precious in the king's treasure. He didn't want to waste any more time. Therefore, Lin Xian summoned his Ice Lotus martial soul. The space in front of him fluctuated. A blue lotus quietly bloomed, emitting a chilling aura that made one's soul tremble. With a wave of his hand, the blue lotus was raised into the air. It quickly grew in size and formed a huge shadow. It was like a giant blue mountain that floated above everyone. The blue aura surged and quickly descended. Every single one of it made people tremble. The scarred man's pupil shrank when he saw this. His heart sank. His opponent's strength made him wary. In the next moment, he summoned his martial soul as well. A white shark jumped out from the void. It opened its bloody mouth and let out a roar that shook the heavens and earth. However, Lin Xian didn't care about his opponent's actions. His fingers moved and quickly formed a seal. Then, he blasted it forward. In the next moment, the lotus in the void rotated. The 9 petals trembled and formed 9 rays of blue aura. Each ray condensed into a blue ice sword that emitted an extremely strong sword chi. Ice Lotus, sword formation. With a low shout, Lin Xian waved his hand. The giant blue ice lotus in the air trembled. 9 ice swords quickly pierced out and tore the void apart in an instant. Chapter 875. The terrifying sword she rolled over, emitting a supreme energy that seemed to be able to pierce through everything. White Shark Slash. The scarred man roared and raised his strength to the maximum. Together with the White Shark martial soul behind him, he quickly slashed out with his sword. Boom! In the next moment, the 9 streaks of sword chi collided with Su White Shark. An extremely powerful energy wave exploded and swept across the surroundings. The cold light of the sword chi swept out, and the entire hall was shaken violently by the terrifying impact. You want to compete with my martial soul? Go to hell. The scarred man sneered. Once again, a surge of chi gushed out from his body and poured into the White Shark martial soul. Instantly, the White Shark martial soul emitted a silver light and formed a powerful impact. However, he was still no match for the 9 ice swords in the empty palace. These ice swords were formed by the Ice Lotus martial soul and contained the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul. It could be said that the attack was extremely powerful. Such power could definitely tear through everything. Therefore, in the next moment, the two did not last long before the huge White Shark martial soul was pierced through by the ice swords. With his martial soul damaged, the scarred man suffered a backlash and spat out a mouthful of blood. His miserable voice reverberated as he was sent flying and slammed into the wall behind him. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect the scarred man, who was at the 3rd heaven of the honorable realm, to lose to a kid at the 2nd heaven. This was too shocking. It was completely beyond everyone's expectations, especially the gang members of the White Shark's gang. They all looked up in horror. The scarred man was their gang leader. In their eyes, he was a godlike existence and had never been defeated before. But now, he had been defeated. Moreover, he had been defeated by a youth whose cultivation level was lower than his. This scene was like a bolt of lightning that struck them unconscious. Even the bald man who was fighting at the side cried out in horror. He could not believe that his big brother had been defeated. Dongfang Phoenix was also shocked. Although she knew that Lin Xian had defeated a 3rd heaven honorable realm, she was still shocked when she saw it again. In the void, Lin Xian looked at the injured, scarred man on the ground and sneered. His palm moved and quickly formed a seal. The blue lotus in the void rotated again. Clearly, he planned to continue attacking and kill his opponent. The scar-faced man crawled up from the ground and quickly suppressed the injuries in his body. A similar look of shock appeared in his eyes. In the next moment, he saw that Lin Xian was about to continue attacking, and his heart trembled violently. "Damned brat, I'll kill you!" He roared at the sky as if he had gone mad. It was too sullen, too much of a failure. He was the leader of the White Sharks gang, a dignified third-layer venerable. Yet, he couldn't even win against a young brat. It was truly shameful. With a furious roar, he once again activated the green sword in his hand and charged forward. The green sword chi shot out like a mountain, like a green river, quickly falling down in the air. At the same time, he roared angrily and quickly swallowed a pill to fuse with the injured white shark martial spirit. Roar! A terrifying roar rang out, shaking the entire area. Then, a shocking killing intent spread out. The scar-faced man's aura suddenly skyrocketed, much stronger than before. Furthermore, his entire appearance had changed. White scales appeared on his body, and a gigantic silver fin appeared on his back. His originally thin face now had 2 fish gills, making him look extremely ferocious, like a merman. Lin Xian frowned. His opponent's aura had skyrocketed so much that even he was a little shocked. His ability to fuse with his martial spirit also surprised him. "Little bastard, die!" The scar-faced man roared angrily and pounced forward like a demon king. Boom! The ground couldn't withstand it, and abyss-like cracks appeared. A terrifying aura enveloped the entire space. "Big Brother has fused with his martial spirit, haha. Brat, you're dead meat. How dare you provoke the White Sharks gang? No one in this world can save you." Beside him, the bald man laughed loudly when he saw this scene. "Lin Xian, be careful." Dongfang Phoenix was also shocked because her opponent's aura was too strong, far stronger than before. "I'll take care of him now and snatch the green sword for you," Lin Xian said in a deep voice. In the next moment, his body shook, and like a ray of light, he rushed out. On his body, the red lotus armor condensed, forming a bright red armor that covered his entire body. Dragon-catching hand, he stretched out his palms, and an icy aura surged, forming 2 ice dragons that quickly spiraled forward. The ice dragons roared and tore through the void, arriving in front of the scar-faced man in an instant and binding him. Traces of icy aura quickly spread, forming a frost zone. Soon, the scar-faced man's speed slowed down. His entire body was covered with a thick layer of ice, and even his movements became sluggish. "You're courting death. Open!" He roared angrily, and the spiritual energy in his body exploded. With a terrifying force, he shattered all the ice. At the same time, he opened his mouth and spat out a ball of light that quickly rushed out. The ball of light was so fast that it sent Lin Xian flying. "Haha, brat, how dare you go against me? This is your fate." Seeing that his opponent was hit, the scar-faced man laughed loudly. His voice was filled with arrogance and pride. The disciples of the White Sharks gang behind him cheered to their heart's content again. The surrounding martial artists shook their heads and sighed. Sure enough, the scar-faced man was not to be trifled with. To be able to become the leader of the White Sharks gang and stand tall for so long, he definitely had a secret manual that could save his life. It seemed that the young prodigy was too careless. "Hee, little beauty, your companion is already dead. You should obediently allow yourself to be captured." The bald man also had an evil smile on his face. "Second brother, why are you wasting your breath on him? Hurry up and capture him. Once we complete the set of the rainbow dual swords, our strength will increase greatly, and we will be able to obtain more treasures here." The scales on the scar-faced man's body flickered, and he looked like a murloc. Dongfang Phoenix's face was pale, but her beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Even if she were to die today, she would drag one of them down with her to avenge Lin Xian. "Is this your strength? You're really nothing much." Suddenly, a mocking voice was heard, clearly reaching everyone's ears. What? That brat is still alive. Hearing this voice, everyone was shocked and turned their heads to look. Dongfang Phoenix's face was also filled with joy. That's great. Lin Xian is still alive. The scar-faced man's body also stiffened, and his face was filled with disbelief. Not dead? How is this possible? He quickly turned around, and his eyes were filled with coldness as he stared ahead. This brat is really lucky. He can't even be killed? The scar-faced man's expression was cold. He decided to strike again, and he must shatter his opponent. He opened his bloody mouth slightly, and a ball of white energy quickly condensed. However, when he saw the figure in front of him, he suddenly froze. The white ball of light that had condensed into the size of a fist also quickly faded. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The scar-faced man shook his head frantically, and his face was filled with shock. He could not believe what he had just seen. Chapter 876. The bald man also cried out in alarm, and his expression was filled with boundless fear. Impossible. How can you not be injured at all? It was too shocking. The energy ball just now was enough to kill a third heaven honorable. However, the other party was not injured at all after being hit head-on. It didn't make sense. Nothing is impossible. Your attack was too weak and couldn't break through my defense. Lin Xian stepped on an ice lotus and floated over quickly. Next, it's my turn to attack. His voice suddenly became sharp, and his expression was cold. In the next moment, a powerful sword aura exploded from his body, as if it could pierce through heaven and earth. What? What a powerful sword aura! Could he be a swordsman? Everyone was shocked and looked at the void in a daze. Originally, when they saw the other party using an ice martial soul, they thought he was an ice-type martial artist. However, at this moment, a powerful sword aura suddenly surged from his body. This was clearly a sword aura that only a powerful swordsman could possess. Swordsman. He was actually a swordsman. The scarred man's face was also filled with shock, and there was a trace of fear in his expression. Among all martial artists, swordsmen were famous for their powerful attacks. He didn't expect the other party to be a swordsman. Furthermore, from the aura of the sword aura, he was definitely a terrifying swordsman. Wait, I admit defeat. I'll give you the cyan rainbow sword. The scarred man suddenly shouted. We were wrong this time. I apologize to you and return the cyan rainbow sword. Furthermore, none of you are injured. Why don't we stop here? Anyway, there are many treasures in this king's treasure. Why should we fight over a treasure aura and waste our time? The scarred man said in a deep voice. What? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe their ears. The dignified leader of the White Sharks gang was begging for mercy? The bald man also retreated and came to the scarred man's side. He gritted his teeth and said, Big brother, why do you have to do this? Why don't we fight it out with them? Shut up, what do you know? The scarred man shouted and then squeezed out a smile. I'll give you the cyan rainbow sword now. He waved his arm and threw the cyan rainbow sword in his hand to Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, the White Sharks gang members were stunned. They didn't expect their gang leader to really beg for mercy. Lin Xian stretched out his hand and caught the sword. He played with it for a while before throwing it to Dongfang Fenghuang. Lin Xian, thank you very much for this matter. I owe you a favor. Dongfang Fenghuang solemnly said as she received the green sword. It's nothing, Lin Xian said with a smile. Then, he turned to look at the White Sharks gang again, thinking about how to deal with these people. Seeing Lin Xian's gaze, the knife-scarred man's face stiffened. He then lowered his head slightly, but his eyes were spinning rapidly. He kept shouting in his heart, just a little more time. As long as he waited for them to arrive, he would be able to make a comeback. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside the hall, and the ground trembled slightly. It was as if quite a few people were rushing over. Hearing that voice, the scarred man's face lit up and his eyes lit up. In the next moment, he took the bald man and retreated quickly. Once again, he laughed sinisterly. Brat, don't think that this matter is over. Next, I'll let you know the consequences of offending the White Shark's gang. Lin Xin frowned. The other party's unpredictable changes made him suspicious, but in the next moment, he understood. Because at the entrance, another group of people walked in, and they had a thick blood aura on them. Walking at the front was a burly man with a full beard. He had a strong aura, and every step he took made the ground tremble. Behind him, there was a huge purple blade on his back. It's the Frenzied Blade Gang. They're here too. Seeing the group of martial artists, countless people exclaimed, and their eyelids twitched. The Frenzied Blade Gang has a good relationship with the White Shark's gang. They must be here to help the White Shark's gang. No wonder the knife-scarred man acted like that. He was trying to stall for time and wait for reinforcements. Seeing the people from the Frenzied Blade Gang, the bald man and the rest of the White Shark's gang laughed maniacally. Their eyes were filled with madness. They were too excited. The Frenzied Blade Gang was one of the bigger forces in the Blackwater River, and their strength was no weaker than theirs. Moreover, the relationship between the two parties was very good. With them here, they would definitely be able to get rid of that despicable brat. Despicable. Despicable. Dongfang Phoenix was so angry that her face turned pale. Lin Xin's face was also gloomy. The other party had actually called for reinforcements to attack them. It seemed like he would not be lenient this time. Haha, Brother Lu Fei, are you all right? The burly man with a full beard laughed. His voice was deep, and it caused the air to tremble. I'm fine. I was careless this time and suffered a loss. However, with Brother Frenzied Blade, we can definitely kill that brat. The burly man with a full beard was called Frenzied Blade. His Frenzied Lion Blade technique was very fierce. At the same time, he was also a third-level honorable realm. The scarred man, Lu Fei, believed that if the two of them worked together, they would definitely be able to kill that brat easily. At that time, not only would he seize the Qinghong Mother Sword, but he would also let Lin Xin know what it meant to live a life worse than death. Brat, how dare you offend me? I'll let you know what regret is. The scarred man, Lu Fei, looked at Lin Xin with endless madness in his eyes.